Why does that person always appear in your mind? The one who left long ago, the one you can no longer speak to, or perhaps never even fully knew. Why do they still linger in your thoughts like mist that refuses to lift? You try to push them away, try to forget, but somehow they return softly without warning. Sometimes in your dreams, sometimes in a memory that surfaces like a leaf drifting to the top of still water. You may wonder if you are haunted by them or by the version of yourself that met them. But tonight, I invite you not to resist. Just be. Let the breath soften. Let your chest rise and fall, and allow the memory to float up. You are not broken for remembering. You are not weak for wondering. There is a reason they entered your life. And no, it wasn't by chance. In the gentle logic of the universe, nothing truly random ever occurs. Not in the web of karma, not in the mirror of mind. In Zen, we say that causes bloom when the time is right. A seed planted long ago in silence may suddenly burst into flower. That person who crossed your path may have been such a blossom. Maybe they came to crack something open. Maybe they stirred your longing. Maybe they were there to awaken your sleeping grief or your hidden joy. Maybe they simply held a mirror, and in that mirror, you saw a version of yourself you weren't ready to face. You weren't prepared to love, but now you are. So breathe, gently. You don't need to analyze or explain. There's no story to complete, no ending to fix. Just presence, just the truth that they were there. And so were you. Let the breath deepen. Inhale and exhale. When someone appears in your mind again and again, it is not a mistake. It is an invitation, not to cling, but to listen. Not to resurrect the past, but to understand its gift. Even those who hurt you may have arrived carrying the seeds of a deeper transformation. And sometimes, the most profound encounters are also the briefest. A single conversation, a passing glance, a goodbye that was really a beginning. Let's rest in this people cross paths when something needs to be exchanged. Not always a word, sometimes an energy, sometimes a teaching, sometimes a wound so precise that it awakens your ability to heal. Think of them now, not with yearning, not with anger, but with openness. Thank them in your heart, even if they'll never hear it, even if you'll never speak again. Thank them because their presence left a trace, a sacred fingerprint, a ripple in your becoming. That ripple helped carry you here to this stillness, to this breath, to this moment of deeper seeing. So let go of the question, why can't I forget them? And replace it with, what are they showing me now? Let go of the story that they should have stayed or said more or done better. Let it fall away like dry leaves. What remains is what matters. You crossed paths, and that crossing was enough. Let your breath become even slower. Let your body grow heavy with peace. You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to solve their mystery. Just let your heart soften toward the fact that they came and that their coming had meaning. The wind doesn't arrive without reason. The waves don't crash without rhythm. So too, people don't appear in your life by chance. Even now, as you drift toward sleep, your soul is sorting the threads, weaving meaning from what once seemed random. You may not see the full pattern yet. You don't need to. Trust that the pattern is there. Trust that their arrival, no matter how brief, how painful, or how joyous, was a piece of your soul's unfolding. Let yourself rest in that faith. Not blind faith, but the kind that arises from quiet wisdom. You've walked far. You've felt deeply. You've held on, and now you are learning to release. This is grace. This is Zen. Nothing forced, nothing rushed. Just noticing what is. The memory that rises, the breath that returns, the feeling that softens. Don't resist. Don't cling. Just be. Let them pass through your mind tonight like clouds drifting across the moon. You don't have to name them. You don't have to relive the story. Just breathe. Just feel. Just allow. In this space, healing happens not by effort, but by surrender. So, surrender to this truth. They were never random, and neither are you. You are part of a vast and sacred dance, and every dancer, every crossing, every touch was written in light before you knew how to see. Rest now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. And everything that came into your life was meant to come. Every person, every lesson, every moment. They arrived because your soul was ready. Trust that. Trust yourself. Trust the rhythm of your becoming. You are exactly where you need to be. Every meeting is a karmic thread, invisible to the eye, but deeply felt by the heart. You may not remember the beginning of this thread. It may have been woven long before this lifetime, in moments that your body cannot recall, but your spirit does. The people you meet, each of them, are not isolated events. They are echoes, reflections, threads spun from actions, thoughts, and choices made not just yesterday, but across time. Karma doesn't punish or reward. It connects. It draws people together at precisely the moment something must be learned, seen, or released. You don't need to believe it blindly. Just feel how some connections stir something so deeply in you that no logic can explain it. A stranger may speak one sentence and something shifts inside. A new friend may feel like an old one. A child may look into your eyes and you sense a familiarity beyond years. That's karma at work. Gentle, precise, unhurried. It draws souls together. Like stars in a constellation, each glowing for a purpose, none of them random. So tonight, let's follow the thread. Let's see what it wants to reveal. Breathe in slowly and breathe out. Softer still. With each breath, soften into the knowing that your life is not a list of disconnected events. It's a tapestry, a flow. And those who've entered your story are woven in, not stitched by accident, but guided by the current of causality. Imagine a past life, maybe hundreds of years ago, where you offered a kindness to a stranger. Perhaps that soul has returned now, disguised as a coworker, a friend, even a brief companion to return that kindness in a way you never expected. Or perhaps you caused harm in a past cycle, unaware, and now the opportunity comes to restore balance. The one who frustrates you, the one who stirs your anger, they may not be your enemy. They may be your karmic mirror, helping you dissolve that which you once projected. In Buddhism, we do not fear karma, we trust it. We welcome it, because karma doesn't control us. It teaches, and the people in our life are its messengers. Some come to lift us, some come to challenge us, some come to hold space for our grief, and others arrive simply to witness our becoming. Breathe again. Relax your shoulders. Soften your jaw. Let this truth settle. The more present you are with each meeting, the more clearly you'll see the thread. Don't ask, is this person good or bad for me? Ask instead, what is the energy here? What does this meeting awaken in me? Not all karmic connections feel gentle. Some are sharp, painful, even chaotic. But even pain can be a pointer. Even chaos has a message. What if that argument wasn't about who was right, but about helping you learn boundaries? What if their leaving wasn't rejection, but an invitation to step into your independence? When you begin to view every connection through the lens of karmic unfolding, something inside you relaxes. You stop needing to control who stays and who goes. You stop clinging. You stop blaming. And in that stopping peace arises, stillness blossoms. Because you're no longer fighting the tide, you're floating with it. Just like clouds know where to drift, karma knows who must enter your path, and when, and why. Even those who arrive late, even those who say nothing are part of this thread. Breathe into that mystery. Let it cradle you like soft waves. You don't need to see the entire web. You only need to trust that you are in it, held by it, shaped by it. Sometimes the thread tangles. A relationship becomes confusing. Someone you thought you'd never lose suddenly grows distant. It's easy to panic, to tighten your grip, to resist. But tonight, I invite you to do the opposite. Loosen your heart. Allow the thread to move. Sometimes it must stretch. Sometimes it must snap. And in that snapping, something is freed. A karmic knot dissolves. You grow lighter. And a new space opens for clarity, for peace, for a new connection to arise when the time is right. You may not understand it now, but you will. One day, you'll look back and see how this very person, this karmic thread, led you deeper into your practice, deeper into your own truth. So let the breath deepen again. Let your hands rest. Let your eyes close if they haven't already. Trust that your soul is doing its quiet work. Trust that no one arrives without reason, and no one stays without meaning. You don't need to figure out each story right now. You only need to welcome what comes with awareness. Karma is not a punishment. It is a pathway, a dance. And every person on that path is a note in your song. Some notes are soft, others sharp. Some linger, others vanish. But together they form the melody of your becoming. So rest, dear one. You are safe in this music. You are safe in this web. Let go of trying to understand it all. Let your body sink into stillness. Let your breath carry the wisdom of letting be. And remember, every meeting is a karmic thread, spun by causes guided by presence, softened by acceptance. You are part of this sacred weaving. Some of the deepest lessons in life do not arrive wrapped in kindness or wrapped in love. They arrive cloaked in pain. You might wonder why certain people have brought you sorrow, why their words wounded you so sharply, why their presence disturbed your peace rather than nurtured it. It's easy to believe that pain is a sign of wrongness, of something gone astray. But in the teachings of Zen, pain is not the enemy. Pain is the bell that calls your attention inward. It is the echo of something that needs to be seen, understood, and released. The people who hurt you were not always malicious, though their actions may have felt cruel. Some were simply caught in their own suffering and enamored in their flailing. Their unhealed parts collided with yours. But even so, they brought a gift, one not wrapped in joy, but in awakening. You are not weak for having been hurt. You are not foolish for having trusted. You were learning. You were growing. You were being shaped. The wound they left may still ache when the night is quiet. It may stir in your chest like a forgotten whisper. But that ache is also a doorway. And tonight, you are safe enough to walk through it. So breathe gently now. Let the breath reach the places that still hold that sting. Let it pass through the memory, not to relive it, but to offer it warmth. You are not your pain, but your pain has a message. It speaks of boundaries you didn't yet know how to set, of needs you silenced, of patterns you inherited, of strength you didn't know you had until it was tested. And the one who brought that pain, they may never apologize, they may never change, but they were part of your becoming, part of your remembering. In Zen, we speak of the lotus, the flower that rises from mud, from rot, from murky water. Your pain is not proof of failure. It is the fertile ground for your blooming. The relationship that fractured you also revealed what must be healed. The betrayal you endured may have torn your trust, but it also called you back to yourself. You began to ask deeper questions. You began to seek something more lasting than approval, something rooted in truth. And here you are, still breathing, still softening, still waking up. Let your breath remind you. Now, this pain has passed. This moment is safe. The one who hurt you is no longer here, not in this room, not in this silence. But the lesson they carried can remain not as a weight, but as a guide. What did you learn about yourself? What truth did that relationship expose? Maybe you learned the cost of silence. Maybe you discovered the power of saying no. Maybe their absence taught you the value of presence. Even if they did not value you, you can choose to value yourself now. Even if they walked away, you can choose to stay with your breath, your body, your truth. Soften now. Not because they deserve your forgiveness, but because you deserve your freedom. Holding on to the wound does not protect you. It only repeats the pain. But letting it soften, letting it float to the surface like a bubble, letting it rise and burst without resistance, that is healing. That is release, and you are ready. You've carried this long enough. Set it down now, not with bitterness, with blessing. Bless the pain that taught you your worth. Bless the goodbye that brought you home to yourself. Bless the silence that followed, where your own voice could finally emerge. You are not broken. You are becoming. The pain was never pointless. It was preparation. It was purification. And now you know more. You know how to see red flags before they bleed. You know how to listen when your body says no. You know how to trust the stillness more than the chaos. Breathe again. Feel the weight lifting. Not all at once, but moment by moment. That's how healing happens. Like waves smoothing jagged rocks. Like sunlight melting frost. You don't need to rush it. Just allow. Allow the pain to speak one last time and then let it go. Let it dissolve into the breath, into the softness of now. The one who hurt you, they fulfilled their role. Whether they knew it or not, they were a teacher. A fierce one, but a teacher still. Bow to the lesson, then turn inward. Your peace is not behind you. It is here, in this breath, in this moment, in this gentle unfolding. You don't have to understand why it happened the way it did. Just trust that it shaped you with intention. Trust that your soul chose growth over comfort. And tonight, that growth is becoming peace. Let it settle over you like moonlight. Let it wrap around your heart like warm silk. You are not your past. You are not the wound. You are the awareness rising beyond it. You are the stillness that remains. You are the breath that continues. You are the lotus blooming through it all. There is a moment in every path when someone arrives who doesn't look like a teacher, doesn't sound like a guide, and yet they shift something so deeply within you that your life is never quite the same. Perhaps they spoke only a few words. Perhaps they came and left so quickly you barely had time to hold them in your memory. Or perhaps they stayed just long enough to reflect something you had forgotten: your courage, your compassion, your silence. These are the soul catalysts. They don't walk into your story with grand gestures. They enter softly, sometimes even unnoticed. But their effect is undeniable. And tonight, I invite you to recall them. Who was it that reminded you simply by their being that you could love again, that you could trust the quiet, that you were enough, even in your brokenness? Breathe with their presence now. Not to summon them back into your life, but to honor what they stirred. Some people are like wind chimes. They don't do anything extraordinary. They just hang in the stillness, and when the breeze moves through, they sing. Their presence turns invisible moments into music. And maybe you were the wind in their life. Maybe your crossing gave them the courage to bloom. In Zen, we do not measure the value of a connection by its length. We measure by its depth. Its awakening. A moment of true presence can change everything. A gaze that says, "I see you." A silence that says, "You don't have to speak." A gesture that says, "You are held." Let your breath slow now. Sink into the rhythm of memory. Not the kind that clings, but the kind that honors. You don't need to recreate the moment. You don't need to chase the feeling. Just bow to it, like the monk bows to the breeze that moves his sleeve, like the river bows to the rain that once fell into it. You were changed, and that was enough. Some people arrive not to stay, but to stir. to awaken something inside you that was sleeping. A dream, a longing, a wisdom you forgot. Their presence was a lantern, and though they are gone, the light remains. Don't question why they disappeared. Don't mourn what couldn't continue. Just bless what was given. Some awakenings must happen quickly, like a match strike in the dark, bright sudden gone. But the fire it started in you, that remains. And you've tended it, even if you didn't know. You kept walking. You kept breathing. You held the light in your own hands. So tonight, as your body softens, thank the ones who didn't stay. The ones who passed through like wind through open doors. They didn't fail you. Their time was simply complete. The lesson was delivered. The mirror had served its purpose. Not all teachers speak. Not all guides linger. Some just pass by, and in their passing, something blooms. Perhaps it was your strength, your tenderness, your surrender. Zen teaches us to let go, not with bitterness, but with grace. The leaf does not curse the wind for carrying it away. It simply dances. So dance now with memory, with breath, with gratitude. Not everyone is meant to walk with you forever. Some are meant to touch your soul once, and that touch is eternal. Let that truth bring you peace. Let it loosen your grip. Let it ease your mind. People who feel like magic, who arrive in a single moment and shift the whole sky, don't ask why they left. Ask instead, what did they leave behind in you? A whisper of faith, a glimmer of calm, a question you finally began to ask. Let that be enough. Let it be sacred. Some souls are bridges. They appear to carry you from one part of yourself to another. And once you've crossed, they dissolve. They weren't meant to build a home beside you. They were meant to remind you that you could move. And you did. So breathe with that freedom. Let your exhale carry the weight of clinging. Let your inhale welcome the spaciousness of release. You are not losing them. You are carrying the part of you they helped reveal. And that part, that truth, that growth is yours. Always. No matter who stays, no matter who returns. No one who truly awakens something in you can ever be lost. They've become part of your song, part of your breath, part of your unfolding. Tonight, rest in that knowing. Let your heart remember the soul catalysts, not with longing, but with quiet joy. They came, they touched, they moved on, and you are better for it, more whole, more aware, more alive. Trust the rhythm of the universe that brings such souls at the perfect time. Trust the silence that follows. Trust that you are always exactly where you need to be, even in the absence, especially in the absence. That is where your true presence arises. Not all who cross your path are meant to comfort you. Some arrive to test the edges of your patience, your compassion, and your sense of self. They are not enemies. They are not villains. In the teachings of Zen, they are sharpening stones. Without their friction, your understanding would remain dull, your heart untested, your wisdom unpolished. When someone frustrates you, pushes your limits, or stirs a heat within your chest, it is tempting to recoil, to label, to push them away. But what if instead you paused, breathed, watched. Every reaction they stir is not just about them, it is about you. What lies beneath your irritation? What old wound is echoing? What part of yourself do you still resist seeing clearly? Zen does not tell you to be passive. It invites you to be awake. Awake enough to know the difference between protecting your peace and avoiding your growth. So when someone arrives in your life and acts like sandpaper against your serenity, feel the edges they reveal. Watch how your breath changes. Watch what thoughts arise. And in that watching, do not judge, observe. Let the breath slow. Let your heart soften. This person may not be kind. They may never understand you. They may never see the truth of who you are. But still, they were sent. Sent not as punishment, but as presence. A presence that reveals where your peace ends and your ego begins. In silence, in breath and mindfulness, you begin to see that the greatest disruptions in your life are often the most precise mirrors. They show you the places still clinging, the beliefs still rigid, the old habits still buried beneath your smile. And when you see those places clearly and without shame, you are free to choose again. Free to respond instead of react. Free to stand firm without hardening. This is the Zen way, not avoidance, but awareness. Not retreat, but stillness within the storm. Imagine a tree in a strong wind. It bends, it sways, but its roots hold. Can you remain rooted when someone tries to uproot your calm? Can you stay soft when another is harsh? Can you remain clear when their chaos tries to cloud your vision? It is not easy, but it is the path. The one who agitates you is not stronger than your breath. They are simply louder for a moment. And in that moment, you can choose to become even quieter, even clearer, even deeper. Tonight, invite to mind someone who has challenged you. Not to relive their words or actions, but to witness your reaction. Watch it as if you were watching a river flow past. Do not dive in. Do not grab the current. Just see it and breathe. Breathe into the part of you that was hurt, that was startled, that was confused. And ask it gently, what did you need? What were you really craving? Validation, safety, understanding. Often, we think people upset us when in truth, they touch a place where our own attention has been absent. So rather than asking them to change, offer that part of you your own presence, your own warmth, your own listening. That is the beginning of self-compassion. That is how you reclaim your power without shouting your dignity, without defense. The ones who push you are not always wrong. Sometimes they are correct in the most uncomfortable way. Other times, they are completely mistaken, but their presence still invites your clarity, your boundaries, your voice. And every time you respond with awareness instead of reflex, the karmic cycle shifts. The thread unwinds, a pattern dissolves. You begin to break free, not from them, but from your old ways of being. And that freedom, that breath of space inside your chest, that is the true gift. So bow silently, inwardly, to the ones who have challenged you, not because they were right, but because they were necessary. They helped you sharpen your stillness, strengthen your patience, solidify your truth. They showed you who you are not, so you could remember who you are: a quiet presence, a clear stream, a steady flame. Let the breath move now, like water across stones. Gentle, constant, unstoppable. You do not need to change anyone. You do not need to convince anyone. You only need to know yourself. That is the Zen teaching, not to fix the world, but to see it clearly. And in that clarity, your energy shifts, your interactions shift, your life shifts, all because you met the challenge with awareness instead of resistance. Tonight, let go of the urge to win, to prove, to explain. You owe no one your peace. You only owe it to yourself to return to it. Let your breath guide you there. Let the memories soften. Let the energy of old conflicts unwind like knots, slowly loosening underwater. You are not here to fight the world. You are here to see through it. And in seeing clearly, you become free. Free to respond with love. Free to walk away with grace. Free to protect your heart without closing it. The sharp people, the hard moments, they are not signs of failure. They are proof that you are being refined. And refinement is sacred. Let it continue gently tonight. Some souls enter your life not to teach through pain or challenge, but to remind you of something long forgotten ease. Their presence feels like a soft breeze on a heavy day, like moonlight when everything else has grown dim. You may not even remember the first words exchanged, only how you felt. Calm, seen, return to yourself. These rare ones do not shout their wisdom. They offer no grand gestures. They simply exist in such a way that your nervous system begins to loosen. Your breath slows, your guard gently falls. It is not because they carry all the answers, but because they carry nothing extra. No judgment, no demand, no fixing, just presence. And presence, real presence, is the rarest form of love. In Zen, such beings are said to carry the energy of a clear mirror. They do not distort what they see. They do not decorate your reflection. They simply offer back what is already there, without resistance, without grasping. And in their gaze, in their quiet laughter, you begin to see yourself again. Not the version shaped by striving, not the one hardened by disappointment, but the one beneath all that. The still one, the open one, the true one. These souls are like cushions placed beneath your weary body. You didn't know how tired you were until they arrived. You didn't know how tightly you were holding yourself until their calm showed you another way. They may not stay forever. Often they do not. But while they are here, everything feels lighter, slower, more whole. And when they leave, if they do leave, they do so without pulling anything from you. Only leaving more space behind, more breath, more quiet. Tonight, remember someone like this. Let their energy return to you, not as longing, but as gratitude. Let it move through your body like warm tea, softening places you didn't know were tense. They may have said very little. They may have simply listened, or laughed, or walked beside you without needing anything to be different. And yet, in their simplicity, they changed the texture of your life. These souls are reminders of what Zen calls suchness, the essence of a thing, free from label or comparison. When you were with them, you didn't have to perform. You didn't have to prove. You simply were, and that was enough. That is still enough. You don't need to search for such people. You don't need to cling to them. Just let their imprint remind you of what is possible, of how relationships can feel when there is no grasping, no masking, no agenda. Just breath shared across space, just silence honored between words, just presence. Maybe they came during a time of chaos when everything else felt brittle and rushed. Maybe they sat beside your grief without trying to rescue you. Maybe they noticed things no one else did, the way you paused before speaking, the way you hid your sadness behind half smiles. They saw, and they didn't flinch, didn't fix, just stayed. And their staying, even if brief, rewired something in you. It showed you that connection does not need drama, that being held does not require you to fall apart, that gentleness is strength. Let this memory flow through you now, like water through fingers. Do not grasp, do not chase, just feel. Let it remind you that your soul recognizes peace, that your body knows when it's safe, and that this knowing, this intuition, is still with you, still inside you, waiting for you to trust it. Again, these souls remind you that love does not always shout. Sometimes it just listens. Sometimes it just breathes beside you. And sometimes that is enough. You may not be able to call them back, but you can become what they offered. You can choose to live that way, with ease, with presence, with softness. You can be that space for others. And more importantly, you can be that space for yourself. When your mind races, slow it like they would. When your chest tightens, breathe like they would. When the world feels too sharp, soften like they did. You carry the imprint now. It's part of your nervous system, part of your breath, part of your becoming. And when others meet you, they may feel it too. They may say, "You make me feel calm," or they may not say anything at all. They'll just stay a little longer, breathe a little slower, rest a little deeper, and you'll know that energy is being passed on, not through effort, but through being, through stillness, through presence. This is the quiet ripple of peace. It doesn't demand, it doesn't declare, it just flows. And tonight, you are flowing with it. Soften more. Let your face relax. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath arrive without force. You are enough, just as you are. No fixing, no striving. Just resting. Just remembering. Some souls reminded you of this truth, and now you are the one remembering it for yourself. Let it carry you gently into sleep, like a boat guided by still waters. You are safe. You are held. You are home. There are people who appear in your life during transition, when something is ending or something unknown is beginning. They arrive not to provide clarity, but to walk with you through the fog. Their presence does not dispel the mystery, but somehow makes the mystery bearable. These are the souls who hold space when you cannot yet name your grief, when you cannot yet see your next step, when your identity feels like it is unraveling. They do not offer direction. They offer companionship, and sometimes that is far more valuable. Zen teaches that in the space between what was and what will be, there is a sacred emptiness, a stillness from which true insight arises. But to sit in that emptiness alone can feel unbearable. It can feel like floating in darkness with no shore in sight. That's when these souls arrive, not with answers, but with lanterns. Their light is soft, not blinding. Their words are few, not forceful. They may not say you'll be okay, but they will be there as you become okay. They may not point to a path, but they will sit beside you until the path appears. In moments of deep transition, the ego trembles. It wants to rush forward to find certainty, to cling to the old. But these souls remind you to wait, to breathe, to let things fall apart if they must. Not all ruins are to be rebuilt. Some are meant to be honored as endings. And these companions of transition help you do that. They help you bury the old life with gentleness, not shame. They help you turn toward the unknown with curiosity, not fear. Tonight, let yourself remember someone like this. Someone who appeared during your unraveling, not to stitch you back together, but to sit quietly in the tangle. Maybe they made you tea. Maybe they offered a wordless hug. Maybe they simply listened as you poured out all the confusion. And they didn't interrupt, didn't fix, didn't shrink away. That too is love. The kind of love Zen calls boundless, not attached to outcome, not needing a role, just being, just breathing, just staying. These people are like trees. You lean against them and they do not ask you to stand upright. They allow you to lean until your own spine remembers its strength. And then when you can walk again, they do not chase. They simply bow. They do not need recognition, do not need repayment. They know that presence is the gift and your healing is the result. Some of them may still be in your life. Others may have drifted away, their role complete. Either way, their impact remains, like the scent of incense long after the flame has gone out, like footprints in sand that no tide can fully erase. Let your breath return to their presence now, not to seek their face, but to feel their energy. The energy of stillness beside chaos, of compassion beside confusion, of trust beside uncertainty. In Zen, this is the way of the Bodhisattva, the awakened being who walks beside others, not to lead, but to accompany, not to save, but to remind. And you may never know whether the person who walked with you was fully aware of the gift they offered. That's okay. Some offerings are unconscious. They emerge from the natural state of a soul aligned with compassion. You don't need to tell the tree it gave you shade. You don't need to thank the breeze for cooling your skin. You just receive. And now, in the stillness of this moment, receive again. Receive the memory. Receive the calm. Receive the reminder that you are never truly alone. Not then, not now. You may be between stories, between identities, between roles, but you are still here, still breathing, still growing in the unseen. And if someone has walked with you during this in-between, honor them by continuing to walk, by continuing to soften, by continuing to be. Transitions are sacred because they strip away what is not essential. They reveal what remains when all else falls. And those who walk with you through that falling, they are sacred too. Not because they held you up, but because they didn't run, didn't rush, didn't reshape your pain into something more palatable. They let you feel, let you fall, let you rise. And that is the deepest gift. So breathe now with your hand on your chest if you wish. Feel the rise and fall, the wave of presence, the cycle of life within you. Know that someone, somewhere once sat beside this breath, once said nothing but meant everything. And if you are now the one walking with someone else, remember this: you do not need to be wise, eloquent, or strong. You only need to be present. The rest takes care of itself. This is the path of sacred accompaniment, of quiet support, of Zen presence. It is not loud, but it echoes forever. So tonight, rest in that echo. Rest in the memory of the one who walked with you. Let your nervous system remember safety. Let your soul remember stillness. Let your body remember how it felt to be seen without being solved. That memory lives in your cells. Let it soothe you now. Let it rock you into sleep. And as you drift, know this: you too are becoming that presence, that lantern, that companion, and even in silence, you are offering light. Some people come into your life not to speak, not to explain, not to unfold the pages of your future, but simply to leave behind a moment, a fleeting encounter that shifts the current of your being forever. You meet them once, maybe twice, and yet they never really leave. They are like a bell ringing in the distance. Long after the sound fades, its vibration still lingers in the air around you. Zen understands that time does not measure depth. A moment can hold the universe. A glance, a kind word, a shared silence under a moonlit sky. These can become portals into the truth of who you are. You may not remember their name. You may not know where they came from or where they went. But their presence, brief as it was, became a thread in your soul's weaving. Tonight, you are invited to close your eyes and revisit one such moment. Was it a stranger on a train reading a book you later found yourself drawn to? Was it a woman in a cafe who smiled at you with eyes full of knowing, as if she recognized your pain without needing you to explain? Was it a child running through the rain, laughing freely as if the world had no weight at all? These are not coincidences. In the rhythm of Buddhist teachings, everything arises with causes and conditions. These meetings, though they appear small, are seeds. Some awaken joy, others provoke longing, and a few plant a question so deep that you spend years unraveling it. Maybe you were in a dark place then. Maybe you hadn't spoken your truth in a long time. And then they appeared not to save you, but to remind you that light still exists. That connection is possible even without history, that your story is still unfolding, and the chapter is not closed. These passing souls do not stay long because they do not need to. Their message is complete in a single gesture, and the rest is yours to carry, to nourish, to return to again and again. In Zen, we call this instant awakening a flash of awareness that needs no teacher, no doctrine, no instruction. It is the mind catching itself in its own mirror, the heart hearing its own echo, and you in that moment understood something about yourself that words could never reach. Let yourself feel it now. Not the facts, not the logic, just the feeling. The shift, the breath you didn't know you were holding, the release that followed. And maybe you wept, or maybe you just smiled, surprised at the ease you hadn't felt in years. It's okay. Nothing needs to be explained. That is the beauty of these sacred encounters. They ask nothing of you. They leave no demand, no weight. Only a softness, a warmth, a sense that the universe, despite all its strangeness, still knows how to whisper through another soul. You don't need to chase them. You don't need to recreate the moment. That would only dilute its magic. You only need to trust that it happened for a reason, that your soul and theirs brushed wings, even if your bodies never met again. And in that brief crossing, something awakened, something softened, something remembered. Perhaps they reminded you to slow down, to look up, to be kind. Perhaps they helped you see beauty in the mundane, a reflection in a puddle, a shadow on a wall, the hush of early morning. Or perhaps in their silence, they taught you how to be still within yourself. Not all teachers wear robes. Not all teachings come through scriptures. Some arrive through a child's laugh, a stranger's hand resting gently on your shoulder, a look that says, "Well, I see you, I see your struggle." And it's okay. Let that be enough. You don't need to decode it. Just receive it. Let it ripple through your being. Let it touch the parts of you that have grown calloused from too much noise, too many expectations. Let it wash over the wounds that no one else saw. These moments are medicine, not the kind that forces change, but the kind that opens space. The kind that says, you're not alone in this world, no matter how long the nights feel. You may never know the full impact that moment had. You may not understand its timing, but your soul does. It carries the imprint like a mark on soft clay. And as you journey forward, that imprint guides you subtly, gently, but undeniably. And here's the wonder: you too have been that moment for others, perhaps without realizing. A smile offered at the right time, a word that reached someone's breaking point like a balm, a gesture that felt small to you, but immense to someone else. We are all passing through each other's lives like waves touching shorelines, leaving behind patterns that remain long after the tide recedes. So tonight, rest in that mystery. Rest in the beauty of not knowing. Trust that you have been met and that you have met others in perfect timing. Breathe with that memory. Let it settle into your chest like a candle flickering behind your ribs. You are a part of this sacred web, and nothing is random. No meeting is meaningless. Even if you forgot the details, your soul remembers. It always remembers. And it smiles. Because that moment, that one breath in the presence of another soul, it was real. And it mattered. Some people enter your life like a whisper, quick, soft, and gone before you realize what changed. Others blaze in like wild winds, shifting everything, challenging everything, shaking you from the roots. But there are also those who arrive with intensity and leave just as swiftly. These are the ones who were never meant to stay long. Their purpose is not in permanence, but in transformation. A short connection can hold more meaning than years of quiet coexistence. Not every soul that steps into your life was sent to walk beside you forever. Some appear for a single lesson, a needed jolt, or a mirror held to your face at the exact moment you refuse to see. In Buddhism, these are known as karmic flames, short-lived, intense encounters born from debts or promises made long before this life. They burn fast, but their smoke lingers in your heart for years. And perhaps it was one of these souls who arrived when you were most vulnerable. Perhaps they made you feel seen in a way you didn't know was possible. Or maybe they hurt you, exposing the fault lines you had buried beneath strength and survival. Either way, they changed you. And tonight, it's time to look at that change, not with regret, but with recognition. You were not weak to let them in. You were not foolish to hope. You were learning, growing, awakening. That's why they came, and that's why they left. In Zen, there's a teaching that says when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And when the lesson is learned, the teacher disappears. Some people are your teachers, but not all teachers are kind. Not all use words. Some arrive wrapped in love, others in chaos. But all offer insight if you are willing to see. Close your eyes, breathe, and think of someone who entered like lightning. Do not judge them. Do not label the experience as good or bad. Just observe. What did you learn from their presence? What part of yourself did they awaken willingly or unwillingly? Did they show you where you were abandoning yourself? Did they teach you the pain of attachment or the ache of being truly vulnerable? Did their love feel like home, or did it reveal how lost you felt within? These are not questions to solve tonight. They are seeds. Let them rest in the soil of your awareness. Trust that with time, understanding will bloom. The garden of your soul is not barren. It is simply in winter. And winter is not an absence. It is a season of rest, of preparation, of deep inner becoming. People who pass through your life briefly often stir up more than they resolve. They come and go before the dust settles. But even if they left confusion, they also left an invitation, the call to return to yourself. That is the great return Zen speaks of, not a return to the past or to what was, but to the heart of your own knowing. And in the stillness of this moment, you can begin that return, not with answers, but with breath. Breathe. Again, slower, deeper. You are still here. You survived their absence. You grew in their shadow. And now you are ready to walk forward. These brief encounters may haunt you for a while. That's okay. They were intense. They carved rivers through your emotional terrain. Let yourself feel the ache, but do not confuse the ache for a wound. Sometimes it is just the echo of depth, the echo of what it meant to feel so fully alive, to have been touched by someone else's existence, if only for a moment. In Buddhist thought, we do not mourn the impermanence of things, we honor it, because only impermanence allows for growth, for change, for freedom. If every bond were eternal, you would never move, never learn, never shed the masks you wear. So be grateful even as you grieve. Grateful that this person came. Grateful that they left. Grateful that you are now closer to yourself than before. And you are. You may not see it yet, but your boundaries are clearer. Your voice is stronger. Your heart, though bruised, is wiser. They gave you that. Through their presence and through their leaving. And you gave yourself the rest. You stayed. You felt. You continued. That is no small thing. That is courage. That is the Dharma in motion. That is Zen. Some nights, the memory may return, uninvited, a scent, a song, a place. Let it come. Let it pass. Do not cling. Do not resist. It's just a ripple, It will not drown you, not anymore. You've become the ocean now, and no wave, no matter how fierce, can undo your depth. Tonight, as you close your eyes, whisper a quiet thank you, not for the pain, but for the path it revealed. Not for the person, but for the presence they brought into your world. They were never yours, and you were never theirs. But for a brief flicker of time, your souls met. And that matters. That always matters. Let that be enough. Let your breath be steady now. Let your body relax into the truth that nothing was wasted. Not the joy, not the sorrow, not the longing. It all brought you here. And here is the beginning of peace. There is a particular kind of pain that arises from betrayal, not just the pain of what was done, but the deeper wound of who did it. It's not merely the act that slices through you. It's the echo of trust, breaking the sound of your own belief in someone shattering beneath the weight of truth. And tonight, you are invited to sit quietly with that fracture. In the stillness, let your body soften. Let the breath become your anchor. You may have been betrayed by someone you loved, or someone you admired, or perhaps someone you thought would never hurt you. Betrayal doesn't always come dressed in drama. Sometimes it slips in quietly, an omission, a silence, a choice made without you in mind. But the impact is the same. Your world, even if briefly, tilts. You question not only them, but yourself. How did I not see? Why did I trust what was real? These questions are heavy. Let them float beside you for now, like clouds above a quiet pond. Zen does not rush you into forgiveness. It does not demand that you erase the pain. What it offers instead is the possibility that even betrayal has a dharma, that even this can be a gate. You may not be ready to walk through it yet. That's okay. But just know it exists. Because in Buddhism, the one who betrays you is not merely an enemy of the heart. They are a revealer. They reveal your needs, your blind spots, your expectations, your attachments. And most of all, they reveal your strength. Not at once, and not without cost, but eventually, like moonlight through broken bamboo. You begin to see that the betrayal was not the end. It was the unmasking. Of them, yes, but also of you. Your innocence, your projections, your longings all laid bare. And in that rawness, you touch something deeper than rage. You touch truth, and truth, as painful as it is, frees you. It frees you to stop pretending, to stop clinging, to stop molding yourself to be lovable in someone else's eyes. It hurts, yes, but underneath the sting is a doorway to wholeness. Tonight, let yourself remember not the moment they betrayed you, but the moment you realized you deserved more. The moment you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize who you had become in their presence. The moment your silence started to scream. That moment was your awakening. You may not have left right away. You may have stayed, hoping, explaining, bending. That's okay. There is no shame in wanting to hold on. But eventually, something inside you rose. A whisper at first, then a pulse, then a roar. And that was your true self returning. Buddhism teaches that suffering is the beginning of the path, not a punishment, but a signal. A red thread that says, "Follow me inward." What did the betrayal show you? Did it reveal the parts of you that were starving for approval? Did it highlight the way you abandoned your own truth just to be loved? Did it force you to draw boundaries you never knew you were allowed to have? These are not weaknesses. These are teachings. And the one who betrayed you knowingly or not played the role of the teacher. Harsh perhaps, cruel maybe, but still a catalyst. Do not confuse this with condoning their actions. Zen does not ask you to minimize your pain. It only invites you to stop being ruled by it, to allow space around the wound, to let air in, to breathe again without armor. You do not need to protect your heart from the world. You only need to know your own worth so deeply that no one can rob it from you. And that is what this pain can offer you if you let it. It can become your clarity, your turning point, your vow. I will never again abandon myself for someone else. That is the kind of truth that changes lifetimes. In silence now, place a hand over your chest. Feel the warmth beneath your palm. That is your heart. It is still here, beating, alive, willing. And it has not grown bitter, it has grown discerning. It sees now, it knows, and it will not forget. One day, you may even thank the one who broke you, not from obligation, not from spiritual bypassing, but from a place of deep freedom, because you'll see that they gave you something you were missing the chance to rebuild, not from desperation, but from truth. The chance to come home to yourself. And once you come home, no one can exile you again. Rest now. Let the pain soften. Let the story fall away. You don't need to relive it. You don't need to fix it. You just need to know. This it brought you here. And here, there is peace. Not because it didn't happen, but because it no longer controls you. That is liberation. That is Zen. That is the blessing hidden inside the breaking. You are still whole, and you are still worthy, especially now. There are moments in your life when someone's words, actions, or presence feel like a sudden strike, sharp, unexpected, and deeply mundane. They push a button you didn't even know existed. They stir something inside you, a wave of anger or fear or sorrow that rises faster than your ability to stop it. And you think, why does this person make me feel this way? It seems irrational, disproportionate. But the answer lies not in the moment, but in the depth it touches. In Buddhism, such moments are known as emotional triggers. But more importantly, they are known as invitations. Invitations into the unhealed. Invitations into the unseen. And more often than not, these invitations come wrapped inside another person. Someone you meet suddenly, or someone you've known all your life. Someone who steps into your experience and unknowingly becomes a mirror for what you've buried. They trigger your healing. It doesn't always feel like healing at first. It feels like conflict. It feels like resistance. But within every trigger is a voice saying, look here. Look at what you've ignored. Look at what still hurts. Look at what needs your attention. It is tempting to run, to blame, to cut people off. But Zen encourages a pause, a breath, a space of witnessing without judgment. Who is it that you react so strongly to? What do they represent? What memory do they awaken? What story do they bring back into your body? When you sit with this not intellectually, but gently, with presence, you begin to see that this anger is not new. This fear is not about now. It's old. It's ancient. It is your childhood, your past lives, your unmet needs, your forgotten vows, and the person who triggered it. They were just the match, not the fire. They didn't create the pain, they only revealed it, and in revealing it, they gave you a gift, an opportunity to meet yourself more honestly, to hold your wounded parts not as shame, but as children who want to come home. That's what triggers are calls to return home, calls to stop running from yourself. Imagine someone said something that made you feel invisible. Maybe it happened today. Maybe it's a pattern. That sting you felt, that wasn't just about the moment. It was about all the times you felt unseen. Maybe as a child, maybe in a relationship, maybe in places where your truth was too quiet to be heard. So now when someone dismisses you, that old wound wakes up. It says, "See, it's happening again." And your body responds. Your breath shortens. Your chest tightens. You want to fight or flee. But if you pause, if you breathe, you can turn inward and ask, what part of me is feeling abandoned right now? What part of me is asking to be heard, not by them, but by me? This is the work. This is the path, not fixing others, but seeing what they awaken in you and tending to it. Gently, lovingly, patiently. In Zen, there is a story of a monk who was easily irritated by another novice. The younger monk's habits grated on him. His chewing, his footsteps, even the way he breathed. But when the elder master observed this, he said, "This brother is not your enemy. He is your mirror." The monk began to weep, because deep down he knew. What disturbed him was not the novice, but the restlessness he could no longer suppress within himself. That is the power of others. They reflect, they illuminate, they awaken. Sometimes what they awaken is joy, but often it's the uncomfortable truth. That's why healing rarely happens in solitude. It happens in relationship. It happens through the friction of two souls meeting. The friction is not the problem, it's the spark. Tonight, I invite you to bring into your awareness someone who has triggered you recently. Not to judge them, not to analyze them, but to feel what arose in you when they did. And then ask, is this new? Or has this lived inside me for a long time? What would it mean to stop asking them to change and instead turn inward and listen to what the pain is saying? Perhaps it's saying, I want to be valued, or I want to be safe, or I want to be free to speak. Whatever it is, listen. Hold that voice and whisper back, I hear you now. That is how healing begins, not in blaming, not in controlling, but in witnessing, in meeting your own truth with compassion, one breath at a time. That person who triggered you, they might never understand what they did. They may never apologize. That's okay, because this journey is not about them. It's about you, your peace, your liberation, your return to wholeness. And each time you meet a trigger with awareness instead of reaction, you take back your power. You reclaim the space within, and the world outside becomes less of a battlefield and more of a teacher. Every person you meet can be a portal, every discomfort a doorway. That is the Zen way. That is the middle path. Not running, not clinging, just being, just seeing, just breathing through it all. So tonight, rest not in avoidance, but in awareness. Let the triggers come and go like passing weather. They are not you. They are messengers. And you are the still sky beneath them all. Nothing they stir can take away your stillness, your worth, your truth. You are not broken. There are people who enter your life gently, like the hush of early morning light filtering through paper windows. They do not arrive with fireworks. They do not shatter your world. Instead, they quietly inhabit the spaces in between your breaths, between your stories, between the parts of you still waiting to be seen. And in their presence, something in you exhales. These are not accidental meetings. Zen teaches that even the most fleeting encounters are written in the ink of karma. Every person who crosses your path is in some way a thread in the tapestry of your awakening. Some are meant to challenge, others to soften, and a rare few are sent to hold your hand in the silence, reminding you that you were never walking alone. Tonight, let your thoughts drift gently towards someone who came into your life like that. Someone whose presence felt familiar even if you had no shared past. Someone who didn't fix you because you weren't broken, but simply witnessed you as you are. In Buddhism, such connections are often known as spiritual companions. They are not always lovers, not always friends in the conventional sense. Sometimes they are strangers who sit next to you in a moment of grief, or a teacher whose words reach a part of you long forgotten, or even a child who looks at you with eyes that seem to remember a time before time. These companions awaken something sacred, and yet they may not stay. This is one of the great paradoxes of spiritual connection. Depth does not require permanence. A brief meeting can leave a lifelong echo. A short season can reshape your entire way of being. So do not mourn the brevity. Honor the impact. Ask yourself, what did they awaken in me? Was it a softness I had buried, a courage I had forgotten, a longing I had never dared to name and then breathe? Because the lesson is not in holding on, it's in becoming who you were in their presence. That's the gift they leave behind, not their company, but your own becoming. Zen invites you to recognize that these encounters are like stones skipping across the surface of your life. You cannot hold the ripple, but you can receive the wave. You can absorb it into your own stillness, allowing it to shift the shape of your inner landscape. And the beauty is you do the same for others. You may never know it. You may never hear it spoken. But just by being fully present fully, you become a companion on someone else's journey. Perhaps you were the quiet presence during their storm, the wordless comfort during their ache, the unexpected answer to a question they had not yet asked aloud. This, too, is the flow of karma, giving and receiving, reflecting and remembering. Each soul touching another, if only for a moment, and continuing onward, more whole, more real, more awake. So tonight, let yourself be soft. Let yourself be grateful, not just for the people who stayed, but for those who passed through, brushing your soul with theirs like wind brushing water. They didn't come to complete you. They came to reveal that you are already whole. And if you feel a quiet ache now, that's okay. Longing is not weakness. Longing is love stretching across time. Let it be. Let it rise. Let it pass like clouds across the moon. You do not need to chase or control. You only need to notice. Notice the warmth that memory brings. Notice the peace that settles in when you stop grasping. In that noticing, you return to the present. You return to now. And in this now, everything is still here. The connection, the teaching, the growth. It hasn't left you. It lives in you. It pulses through your breath. It lingers in your choices. It echoes in your silence. There is a story of a wandering monk who once spent a single evening in the presence of an old farmer. They spoke little, shared a meal, slept under the same stars. And when the monk left at dawn, the farmer simply said, "You reminded me of peace. That's all." And yet the monk carried those words through the rest of his journey, allowing them to root deep inside him. Years later, in his final days, he whispered, "I did not change the world, but I reminded one soul of peace. That was enough. That is enough. You are enough." And tonight, I invite you to hold that truth as you rest. You don't have to perform for connection. You don't have to grip it tightly. The people meant for your path will arrive exactly as they are meant to, and they will leave when it is time. Not as punishment, not as failure, but as part of the flow. Like leaves floating down a river, some will drift with you for a while. Others will catch a different current. All of them matter. All of them teach. All of them touch. And when the current is quiet and it's just you and the sound of your breath, remember you are never truly alone. The connections you have made live on not in possession, but in presence. You carry them, and they carry you. Through memory, through energy, through the shared field of being. So sleep now, with a heart open, not to permanence, but to presence. Not to clinging, but to cherishing. And if you feel a tear slip down your cheek, know that it is holy. It is love, remembering love. It is your soul bowing to the ones who reminded it how to sing. Breathe, just breathe. You are surrounded by more love than you know. Sometimes the soul feels a quiet pull towards someone it cannot explain. You meet them, not through logic, not through planning, but as if a current has brought you to the same shore. And something in their voice, their eyes, the way they pause before speaking touches you, not like lightning, but like the first warmth after a long winter. You don't know why. You don't need to. In Zen, these moments are not labeled as coincidences. They are known as karmic echoes, whispers from past connections that ripple forward into this moment, trying to resolve something, to offer something, or simply to witness something. When someone enters your life and stirs you in this way, it is not random. It is alignment. The intersection of your path with theirs is a sacred crossing, not always meant to last, but always meant to matter, and the pull you feel. It is memory in the body. Your soul recognizes theirs even before your mind does. Perhaps you walked together in another time. Perhaps they once taught you how to be brave, or you once stayed beside them in silence when they had nothing left to give. And now, here they are again, not to repeat the past, but to close it, or deepen it, or transform it into something more conscious, more awake. When you sense this pull, your first instinct may be confusion. Why am I drawn to this person? What do they want from me? What do I want from them? And yet the real question is not why, but what now? What does this connection ask of you in the present? Does it ask for forgiveness, for trust, for letting go, or simply for presence without fear, without needing to define or control? Tonight, I invite you to bring to mind someone you felt drawn to in this quiet way. Don't analyze, just feel. What was awakened in you? Hope, fear, longing, safety. There is wisdom in the response. There is a lesson encoded in the pull. Zen teaches that not all spiritual connections are comfortable. Some shake us, some unearth what we thought we had buried. But all of them serve a purpose. They stretch the soul. They test the heart. They melt the ice of isolation. And even when the connection does not bloom into something lasting, it still changes you. Because for a moment, you remembered that you are not a solitary traveler. You remembered the music of recognition, the comfort of not having to explain yourself, the ease of being seen without effort. That is a gift no time can erase. And yes, sometimes the person you are drawn to cannot stay. They have their own journey, their own timing, their own lessons. It can be painful to feel that closeness and then feel it drift away. But Zen invites you to see this too, as part of the design. The connection was not a failure. It was a flame that lit your path for a while. It brought light. It brought warmth. And now it invites you to carry that flame within, not to mourn what ended, but to honor what began. You are still walking, and what they awakened in you, curiosity, compassion, courage, these are now part of you. They do not disappear with absence. They remain. So rest not in regret, but in reverence. Rest in the quiet understanding that every pull has a purpose, even if the story ends before you expect. There is a Zen proverb that says when the student is ready, the teacher appears. But the teacher is not always a monk or a book or a sermon. Sometimes the teacher is a stranger who held your gaze for 1 second longer than usual. Sometimes the teacher is someone who loved you imperfectly but sincerely. Sometimes the teacher is someone who disappointed you because in their absence you found your strength. Everyone you feel drawn to plays a role in your unfolding. Some bring joy, others bring challenge. All bring movement. All bring mirrors. And when you no longer cling to keeping them in your life, but instead open to receiving what the moment offers, then you become free. You become whole. You no longer seek to possess the connection. You become the connection. You become the space where recognition happens. And that is the most beautiful state of all. You do not chase. You do not grasp. You simply allow. And in that allowing, you become a field of grace. So tonight, breathe deeply into that grace. Think of the soul who touched yours in a way you can't explain. Smile. Say, thank you. Let go. And trust that if their path is meant to cross yours again, it will. Not through effort, but through flow. And if it never does, it is not a loss, it is a completion. The circle has closed. The lesson is done. The gift has been received. And you are still growing. still unfolding, still becoming the person you were meant to be, touched not just by the ones who stayed, but by the ones who passed like wind through trees, leaving behind the shape of their passing in the hush of something holy. Sleep now and trust the pull. Even if it leads you into silence, it always leads you toward yourself. There are people who arrive when your world feels most uncertain. When the ground beneath your feet is no longer familiar, when the maps you've trusted dissolve in your hands, they appear not as answers, but as reminders. Reminders that even in disorientation, you are not lost. That even in your trembling, there is truth. Zen tells us that in moments of deep transition, karma weaves unexpected threads into our lives. You may not have asked for this meeting. You may not have prepared for it. But somehow, this person is here now, at this exact intersection of your unraveling and becoming. They do not save you. They do not take away your pain, but they hold a mirror quietly, steadily, until you begin to see not what you were, not what you've lost, but what is beginning to emerge. These are the souls who walk with you through the fog. They don't need to speak. Their presence is enough. They help you remember how to breathe again, how to trust again, how to take one step forward, even if your eyes are still filled with tears. Tonight, I want you to remember someone like that. Someone who came when life no longer made sense. Someone who didn't have all the answers, but whose presence alone helped you make it through another night. These people are more than companions. They are thresholds. They stand with you at the edge of who you used to be, bearing witness as you cross into something new. And often, they don't realize the depth of what they've given. They think they're just being kind or just doing what they can. But you know differently. You know the way their words lingered, the way their energy wrapped around your breaking places like soft cloth, the way your soul whispered, "Thank you," even when your voice could not. In Buddhist teachings, such encounters are considered sacred exchanges. One moment of true presence can outweigh years of absence. One look of compassion can plant the seed of transformation. These connections do not require history. They do not need labels. They exist outside of story, pure, unadorned, essential. And when the time comes for them to leave, you may feel grief. That's natural. But Zen reminds us, do not cling to the form. Treasure the essence. What they gave you is not gone. It has entered you. It has become part of your breath, your choices, your silence. You carry them forward not as weight, but as light. And sometimes you will become that person for someone else, without even knowing it. You'll say a word that lands like balm. You'll stand beside someone in their storm, asking nothing in return. You'll remind them of a truth they forgot, that they are not alone. This is the dance of spiritual connection. Give and receive, appear and disappear, shape and release. And yet through it all, the energy remains. Nothing is truly lost. It only changes form. Tonight, as you lie in stillness, imagine yourself as a field of memory. Every person who ever touched your heart is a star in that field, shining quietly. Some are close, some are far, but all are present. All are part of the constellation that guides you. And as you breathe, let that light warm you. Let it soften the ache of missing. Let it remind you that you have been loved deeply, even in the midst of pain. In Zen, we do not measure love by duration. We measure it by depth, by the way it helps us awaken, by the way it dissolves our armor, by the way it leads us home. And so, when someone enters your life during a time of upheaval, do not ask how long they will stay. Ask what they are reflecting, what they are inviting, what part of you is being reborn in their presence, because they may be a mirror or a catalyst or simply a hand on your shoulder reminding you to keep going. That is enough. That is more than enough. You don't have to hold on to their physical form. You only need to open your heart to what was shared, to let it live in you, to let it grow into something that can be offered onward. That is the flow of compassion. That is the wheel of karma. That is the quiet revolution of love. And if tonight you feel the ache of one such departure, let that ache be a blessing. It means something real happened. It means you were open. It means you were touched. And in that touch, you remembered who you are beneath all your fear, all your striving, all your noise. You are presence. You are stillness. You are the open sky, holding all these passing clouds. So rest now in the company of that truth. Rest in the knowing that every sacred crossing has a reason, even if your mind never understands. The soul always knows, and the soul is always moving toward wholeness. Let the stillness take you. Let your breath anchor you. Let your heart remain open to every soul who has ever reminded you of your own light. And may you become that reminder for others, not through effort, but through being, through breathing, through the gentle miracle of presence. Sleep, dear one, and trust the mystery. Some people arrive in your life like questions. They don't bring clarity, not at first. Instead, they stir something deep, something ancient, as if the ground beneath you has shifted just a little. You feel it not in your mind, but in your chest, in your breath. They don't explain themselves. They don't make promises. And yet their presence asks something of you. It asks you to look again, to soften, to feel what you've long avoided. In the stillness of the night, when the world falls silent, their energy lingers in your thoughts. Not because of what they said, but because of what they awakened. You may not even know their role in your story yet, but Zen teaches not knowing is also sacred. The questions themselves can be teachers. Why did they come now? What are they reflecting? What part of me do they see that I've forgotten? In the practice of mindfulness, we are taught to welcome each moment as it is without rushing to label or solve it. This includes the people who enter your orbit. Not every connection needs definition. Not every bond needs a future. Sometimes the most powerful spiritual encounters are the ones that remain open-ended. They ask more than they answer, but they change you. You feel it in the way your thoughts shift, in the way you sit with yourself, in the way your body relaxes into a presence that feels both new and familiar. These people, these soul questions are not distractions. They are invitations. Invitations to become more honest, more alive, more present. They may challenge your sense of control. They may pull you out of your comfort, but they always bring you closer to your essence. Tonight, think of someone who arrived without explanation. Someone who made you pause. Not because they impressed you, not because they fulfilled a role, but because their energy spoke to a forgotten part of you. That part that still believes in depth. That part that longs for stillness. That part that listens for truth even when it's wrapped in silence. In Buddhism, we speak of interbeing, the idea that nothing exists in isolation. Every meeting is a meeting of conditions, of histories, of unseen currents. You met this person not randomly, but through the convergence of countless unseen threads. And even if you part ways tomorrow, the moment will remain. The imprint will remain, like footprints on the shore after the tide has gone. So don't rush to name it. Don't rush to control it. Instead, sit with the question. Let it move through you. Let it shape your awareness. This is the practice of non-grasping. To allow someone to matter without needing them to belong. To hold space for their presence without building expectations around it. And in doing so, you grow. You soften. You awaken. Because the truth is, not every soul who touches yours is meant to stay. Some are just passing through, offering you a glimpse of who you are becoming, offering you a reminder of what matters, offering you the chance to love without clinging. And that is a gift beyond measure. That is love in its highest form. So breathe into that space. Let your body relax into the not knowing. Let your heart expand to include even the unanswered. Because in Zen, every question is a doorway. And every person who arrives with mystery in their eyes is a guide, whether they know it or not. Perhaps they don't even know the effect they've had on you. That's okay. This journey is not about explanations. It's about presence. It's about allowing the soul to matos toward what it recognizes as truth. So rest now with the mystery. Rest with the ache of unanswered questions. Rest with the beauty of what has no name. You are growing, even when you can't see it, even when all you have is a question shaped like a person. You are unfolding, and that unfolding is sacred. You don't need to understand it all. You only need to stay open, to trust the process, to let the questions do their work in you. This is how we become, not through answers, but through being willing to sit in the presence of the unknown with a soft heart and a steady breath. Tonight, sleep in that space. Sleep knowing that every soul who enters your life carries a message, even if the message is silence. Even if the message is a pause that breaks your patterns. Even if the message is simply, be here, be real, be still. And if someday clarity comes, let it arrive gently. Let it land like snow on branches. Let it affirm what you already knew deep down, that you were never alone in your becoming, that every step was guided, that every meeting mattered. And until that clarity comes, you can rest in the knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, surrounded by questions, held by mystery, loved by the very breath that keeps you awake. You are not lost. You are not behind. You are walking a sacred path. And every person who makes you pause is a lantern, not a destination. Sleep now with your questions. Let them whisper to you. Let them heal you. Let them remind you of the beauty that lives in the unknown. There are people whose presence feels like a return. You don't remember calling them yet. When they arrive, it feels as if a long-lost part of you has come home. They may not say much. Their presence alone speaks the language of familiarity, as if your soul recognizes them from somewhere beyond time. In the teachings of Zen, such meetings are echoes of old karmic ties. Bonds not made in this lifetime alone, but shaped by shared steps in realms unseen. You meet them, and something in your chest loosens. You don't need to impress them. You don't need to explain yourself. With them, you are enough, exactly as you are. It's rare, this feeling, like a warm breeze brushing your cheek on a quiet morning. You don't know why it moves you, only that it does. These souls are not meant to change your path, but to remind you of it. They don't give you new dreams. They help you remember the ones you abandoned when life became loud. Perhaps you met them during a quiet season of your life, or perhaps they arrived right in the middle of your undoing. Either way, their timing was perfect. Not because they solved anything, but because they reminded you how to sit with yourself again. Sometimes they leave just as silently as they came. No drama, no rupture, just a soft fading like a candle slowly flickering out. And you are left with the warmth they brought even after the flame has gone. Zen doesn't ask us to cling to such people. Zen asks us to bow to the moment they created. A bow of gratitude, a bow of recognition, a bow to the impermanence of all things. Because even that gentle presence, so healing, so rare, cannot stay forever. The truth is nothing can. But the memory remains, not as a wound, but as a soft light. Something you carry, something that shapes the way you move through the world. You might find yourself being kinder after meeting them, slower, softer, less quick to judge, more willing to listen. Their energy becomes part of your own. You do not become them, but you carry forward the gift they left behind. And that is enough. That is the ripple of spiritual connection. When someone touches you so deeply that you begin to touch others in the same way without even trying. Tonight, I invite you to rest in that memory. Close your eyes and recall someone whose presence felt like returning to yourself. Breathe into that feeling. Let it fill your chest. Let it melt away the parts of you that still believe you are unworthy. Because if they could see your beauty, your softness, your truth, then it must be real. Trust their gaze. Trust their presence. They didn't choose you by accident. They didn't feel you by mistake. They saw something in you that you had forgotten. Something that still glows even now. In Buddhist wisdom, this is known as knowing nature. That deep wordless recognition of soul to soul. It transcends logic. It defies explanation. It simply is. Like the way trees know when to let go of their leaves. Like the way rivers know how to find the sea. And even if you never meet again, the knowing remains. You may walk past each other in different lifetimes in different forms, but the imprint endures. The soul remembers. The spirit bows. So let go of needing more. Let go of the ache for continuation. Instead, honor what was shared. Honor the moment. Honor the version of you that came alive in their presence. That version of you is still here, still growing, still becoming. You don't need them to keep evolving, but you can thank them quietly, gently, without attachment, without resistance. Just as the lotus thanks the mud, not for its beauty, but for its nourishment. Just as the sun thanks the night, not for its darkness, but for the chance to rise. In this stillness, let yourself feel the truth. You are never truly alone. Every soul you've ever loved still lives in the rhythm of your breath, in the tenderness of your gaze, in the way you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. That is where connection lives, not in possession, but in presence. And presence never dies. It only deepens. It only expands. So sleep now knowing that the love you have received, the light you have shared, the presence you have known it all continues. Within you, through you, beyond you, like water flowing from spring to stream to sea, always moving, always returning, always one. Some souls arrive with turbulence, not softness. They do not slip into your life like a gentle breeze, but arrive like thunder on a cloudless day. You weren't expecting them. You weren't prepared. And yet the storm they bring is not here to destroy you. It is here to wake you up. In the still language of Zen, even chaos has its role. Even pain carries the seeds of awakening. Not every person you meet will bring comfort. Some will challenge every part of your identity. They will press against your fears, highlight your attachments, and reflect back the parts of you you've worked hard to hide. And in this confrontation, in this storm, something essential is revealed. These people, these sudden winds, are often mistaken as mistakes. You may wish they had never arrived. You may wish the story had unfolded differently. But over time, as the sky clears, you begin to see their gift. Not the gift of comfort, but the gift of disruption. They cracked your shell. They interrupted your patterns. They forced you to examine what you had taken for granted. In Buddhism, we speak of turning words, moments that jolt the mind into awakening. A sharp phrase from a master, a moment of embarrassment, a loss that shakes your world. These are not punishments. These are doorways. And sometimes the people who deliver these turning moments are not calm monks or spiritual friends. They are flawed, human, and messy. And still, they are carriers of transformation. You may not understand them. You may not agree with them, but their role in your journey is undeniable. They held the mirror. They pushed the button. They triggered the unraveling that brought you here, this moment of listening, this moment of stillness. Tonight, I invite you to sit with one such presence in your life. Someone whose entry brought upheaval, not because they were cruel, not because they intended harm, but because their existence collided with something fragile in you. Let your breath hold their image. Let your body feel what you once felt in their presence. The racing heart, the confusion, the longing, the anger. Let it all come. Let it all pass. Because healing begins not with denial, but with acknowledgement. You don't need to forgive tonight. You don't need to understand. All you need is to see. See how they moved something inside you. See how their storm revealed your landscape. There is a koan in Zen that asks, "What was your original face before you were born?" A riddle meant not to be answered, but to be lived. And often, the people who disturb us the most are the ones who strip away the masks we wear. They do not do this kindly, but they do it effectively. You saw yourself differently after they left. You questioned more deeply. You cried more honestly, and those tears were sacred. They watered the seed of your becoming. So perhaps now in this quiet moment, you can whisper thank you, not for the pain, but for what the pain revealed, for the truth it uncovered, for the courage it demanded. In the path of Zen, all things are teachers. All experiences are gates. And the sharpest teachers often leave the deepest impressions. You may never meet them again. You may never reconcile. But their lesson will remain, carved not in bitterness, but in clarity. You learned where your boundaries were. You learned where your heart still needed mending. You learned what love is not, and in doing so, you came closer to what love truly is. These teachings are not written in scripture. They are lived, felt, survived, and you survived. That alone is proof of your strength, of your wisdom, of your unfolding. So, sleep tonight with that knowledge. Let the image of their face soften in your mind. Let the story lose its sharpness. Let it become a mist, a memory, a moment in the great river of your life. It does not define you. It refined you. And that is a sacred distinction. In every tradition, there are trials, moments of burning, of breaking, but the ashes do not signal the end. They signal the clearing, the space for newness, for depth, for truth. You are not who you were before they came, and that is okay. That is beautiful. You have shed a skin. You have outgrown a pattern, and now you are breathing more freely, more honestly, more fully. So rest now with gratitude. Gratitude not for their presence alone, but for your resilience, for your willingness to stay awake through the storm, for your quiet, unwavering path toward peace. You did not choose the lesson, but you honored it. You met it with grace. Even in the moments when you thought you were failing, you were in fact being formed. And now, here you are, listening, reflecting, becoming. This is the path, not straight, not easy, but sacred, so sacred. Let that truth settle into your bones tonight. Let it rock you gently to sleep. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are becoming. Every breath, every ache, every memory, it is all part of the unfolding, all part of the return to your original self. The self that existed before fear, before ego, before the stories. The self that simply is, whole, pure, awake. May you sleep in that remembrance, and may you rise with clarity, knowing that even the most disruptive presence was not an error, but an echo, a message, a movement toward the light you are still learning to carry, and carry it you will. Not with haste, not with anger, but with softness. And with every step, you will teach others to do the same, just by being, just by breathing, just by remembering. There are moments in life when someone steps into your world not to shake you, not to comfort you, but simply to witness you. They do not demand anything. They do not try to change you. They sit beside your silence. They see your trembling, and they do not flinch. This kind of presence is rare. It does not seek the spotlight. It does not declare itself as meaningful. But in its quietude, it becomes one of the most powerful forces in your life. Buddhism speaks gently of the power of being with not doing for not rescuing, but simply being with. And it is often in this non-doing that the greatest healing takes place. You may have met someone like this during a time when you felt invisible, when your voice felt too small for the world, when your pain felt too complicated to explain. And there they were, not asking you to simplify it, not asking you to smile, just being, just breathing, just honoring your space. These are the people who remind you that your existence alone is worthy of attention, that you do not have to entertain to be lovable, that you do not have to speak to be heard. In their presence, your nervous system relaxes, your breath deepens, your muscles unclench, because suddenly there is no performance, there is no pressure, there is only presence. This is what it means to be seen, not through the filter of someone's expectations, but through the lens of someone's compassion. And it doesn't matter how long they stayed. It doesn't matter if the connection was fleeting. The imprint they left is permanent, because it wasn't their words that changed you. It was their willingness to sit in the mystery of you, to hold space for your becoming without needing to define it. In Zen, this is the highest form of love to allow, to trust, to know that even in your confusion, your process is sacred. Tonight, I invite you to rest in the memory of such a presence, someone who met you where you were, not where they wanted you to be, someone who didn't try to fix you, someone who simply believed that your unfolding was enough. Close your eyes. Let your body remember what it felt like to be seen in that way. Let that memory wash over you like a gentle rain, soothing, cleansing, pure. You don't need to recreate that moment. You don't need to grasp at it. Just receive it again. Just rest in the grace of it. Because what they gave you, you now carry within you. Their stillness awakened your own. Their permission became your practice. And now you have the capacity to offer this same presence to others, to sit with someone's storm without needing to name it, to witness someone's breaking without needing to mend it, to say with your silence, you're enough. Even now, especially now. This is the heart of mindful connection, not control, not obligation, but trust, deep soul-level trust, that each person is walking their own sacred path, that your only task is to honor the steps they take, whether they lead toward you or away from you. Because you are not their destination. You are their mirror, their pause, their breath. And sometimes that is all they needed. And sometimes that is all you needed. The simplicity of that truth can undo years of striving. It can melt the parts of you that believed you had to be more, do more, prove more. It can bring you back to yourself, the self that was always enough, the self that does not need applause to feel worthy, the self that knows how to listen without interrupting, how to be without performing, how to love without possessing. Let that self guide you into sleep tonight. Let that self remind you that your presence is powerful, even when no one sees it, even when no one names it, even when you forget it. It is still there, like the moon behind the clouds, like the mountain beneath the fog, always there, always steady, always whole. And the more you rest in that knowing, the more you will radiate it without effort, without planning. You will become the calm in someone else's storm, the pause in someone else's noise, the space in which someone else remembers that they too are enough, not by becoming someone new, but by returning to who they have always been. This is the ripple of compassion, the quiet revolution of presence, the invisible thread that connects us all. And it begins with you, with this moment, with this breath. So breathe now, not to escape, but to arrive. Breathe to remember. Breathe to soften. And as you drift into rest, know that the gift of being witnessed has never left you. It lives in your cells. It sings in your heartbeat. It waits in your silence. And when the time comes, you will offer it to another, without words, without effort, just by being, just by breathing, just by trusting. That is enough. That is always enough. You may not remember the exact day they entered your life. Maybe it was in passing. Maybe it was online. Maybe it was through a mutual friend or a chance encounter at a place you hadn't planned to go. But somehow they arrived, not with grandeur, not with announcement. They simply became part of your path. And in time, something changed. A shift occurred, not dramatic, not earth-shattering, but undeniable. It could have been the way they looked at you, not through you, or the way their words seemed to echo thoughts you hadn't dared to speak aloud. Or maybe it was their stillness, the calmness they carried, that began to touch the chaos inside you. We don't always notice the moment healing begins. It rarely comes with fanfare. It rarely feels like fireworks. Often, it feels like silence, like a moment of safety you didn't know you were longing for, like being able to exhale for the first time in months. That's how you know. That's how you sense someone isn't just in your life by accident. In Buddhism, there's the idea that every meeting is the continuation of an old connection. Not in the romanticized sense of fate, but in the quiet understanding that our lives weave into others for a reason, seen or unseen. And some people come into your life to remind you of something you forgot. Your worth, your strength, your joy, or simply your right to be exactly as you are. These reminders don't always come as teachings. Sometimes they come in laughter, in shared silence, in the unspoken agreement that I see you and I'm not going anywhere. Tonight, I invite you to remember one such soul, someone whose presence felt like sunlight, not harsh, but gentle and warm, not demanding, but healing. Maybe they're no longer in your life. Maybe they're still near. It doesn't matter. What matters is what they stirred within you. Let your breath carry the memory of that stirring. Let your body soften into it. Allow yourself to feel the calmness that arose in their presence. The calmness wasn't theirs. It was always yours. They simply reminded you. That's the secret. The most powerful people we meet aren't those who give us something new. They are the ones who return us to ourselves, who walk beside us until we remember the rhythm of our own steps. In Zen, there's a story of a monk who asked his master, "What is the path?" The master replied, "Your everyday mind is the path." And it's true. The way you pour tea, the way you fold your clothes, the way you speak your name, all of it, if done with presence, is sacred, and some people remind you of that. By being fully present with you, they reflect back the presence you've forgotten to offer yourself. They don't preach, they don't push, they just show up. And in doing so, they become mirrors that don't distort, but reveal. You begin to see your laughter again, your lightness, your curiosity. You begin to remember that life isn't just about surviving, it's about living, breathing, becoming. These souls are rare, not because they are better than others, but because they are ready. Ready to see, ready to sit, ready to walk with you for however long is needed, not to fix, not to save, but to accompany. Their presence is their gift, and that gift lingers even now. As you lie here, quiet and open, their energy still lives in you. Perhaps it's in the way you now pause before reacting, or the way you speak more kindly to yourself, or the way you no longer apologize for needing rest. That's their echo. That's their impact. It doesn't fade, it deepens. And one day, you will offer that same presence to someone else. Not because you owe it, but because it's become who you are. The healed begin to heal. The seen begin to see. The loved begin to love not out of duty, but from overflow. That is the ripple of spiritual growth. That is how Zen moves through the world, not as doctrine, but as being, fully, honestly, softly. Let yourself rest in that ripple tonight. Let the memory of that person's presence hold you like a gentle wave. Let it rock you, soothe you, remind you. You are not alone. You never were. They were not a coincidence. They were a blessing. A living koan. A walking answer to a question your soul didn't know it was asking. And now, you are different. Not broken. Not fixed. Just different. Softer. Wiser. Braver. That is the power of love without agenda. Of presence without pressure. It teaches by example. It transforms by osmosis. And it endures. Long after goodbyes. Long after distance. Long after the chapter has closed. The lesson remains. The growth continues. So sleep now, not in longing, but in gratitude. Let that person's image fade into the background as your own light steps forward. You are becoming your own sanctuary, your own steady presence, your own source of calm. And as you embody that, you honor the gift they gave, the gift of reflection, the gift of return, the gift of being reminded that you, exactly as you are already whole. And tomorrow, when you rise, may you walk with that knowing, quietly, confidently, compassionately, because the world needs more of it, and you are ready to give, simply by being, simply by breathing, simply by remembering. Have you ever wondered why someone entered your life only to leave again, as if they were never meant to stay? Why a person who once lit up your world with their presence is now only a memory, vivid haunting, or bittersweet? In the quiet understanding of Zen, nothing is ever random. No meeting, no parting, no moment shared is without meaning. You see, life moves like a vast river. Every current is shaped by what came before, and the people you meet, they are part of those currents. Some stay, some drift away, but none arrive by accident. Sometimes people enter your life not to remain, but to redirect you. Like a gentle push from the universe, they show you something you wouldn't have seen otherwise. They reflect a part of yourself, your desire, your fear, your potential. And then, like a breeze, they are gone. Their presence was temporary, but their impact is not. The mind often resists this impermanence. It asks, why couldn't they stay longer? What did I do wrong? Why does the goodbye hurt more than the hello, ever healed? But the heart, when it is quiet and still, knows better. The heart whispers, not everything meant to touch you is meant to remain. Some are just messengers. In Zen thought, impermanence is not a flaw. It is the nature of all things. Cherry blossoms bloom and fall. Morning dew evaporates. And people too pass through our lives like seasons. Trying to cling to them is like trying to catch the wind in your hands. And yet, even the wind changes the landscape. So too do these brief but profound connections. They awaken you. They challenge your stillness. They open locked doors within your spirit. And then they move on. Maybe that person taught you how to be brave. Or maybe they showed you how deeply you can feel. Maybe they broke your heart, and in doing so broke open a space for something more honest. You may not have understood their role at the time. You may still not, but their presence, however brief, was not a mistake. You grew from it. You changed. And now, here you are, lying in the quiet, breathing into your own rhythm and remembering what they stirred in you. Don't judge that memory. Don't resist it. Let it rise like mist. Let it pass like clouds. No story needs to be rewritten. No ending needs to be prettier. In Buddhism, there is a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. But not all teachers stay. Some come to deliver a single lesson, then disappear. Like dreams that vanish at dawn, yet leave behind a feeling, a knowing. Trust that what needed to be learned was learned. And if the lesson isn't yet clear, trust that it will be, in time, in silence, in sleep. Tonight, let go of the desire to hold on to every person who touched your heart. Let go of the illusion that love must last forever to be real. Some of the truest connections are brief. A shared glance, a fleeting conversation, a stranger's kindness, a goodbye that echoes like a bell long after it's gone. You are not meant to keep everyone. You are meant to carry forward what they awakened in you, their courage, their laughter, their shadow, their light. It is now part of you, part of the path, and in your own time, you will offer it to someone else, just as unknowingly, just as perfectly. That is the cycle. That is the river. That is karma. You touch and are touched. You change and are changed. And none of it is wasted. So sleep tonight, not with longing, but with peace. Wrap yourself in the softness of what was. Let the tenderness of memory soothe you, not haunt you. You are still becoming. Every meeting, every parting part of your unfolding, part of your return to yourself, to presence, to truth. And even now, someone may be walking toward you, quietly, unknowingly, drawn by a current beyond your control. You will meet, you will share something sacred, and maybe they will stay, or maybe like the others they will leave, but the gift will remain. Just as this one has, just as all of them have. For now, breathe in and out. Feel the spaciousness of letting go, the quiet relief of no longer needing to hold on, the freedom in accepting that what is meant for you will come and stay only as long as it must. And that is enough. That is always enough. You have walked far to reach this point, haven't you? Though your feet may not have traveled miles, your inner world has carried the weight of storms and questions of arrivals and departures. The question that lingers tonight is not about who stayed or who left, but what remained. What remains after someone has passed through your life like a breeze that startled the stillness? What part of them do you carry in your breath, in your choices, in the quiet way you pause before speaking? You may not have all the answers, but you feel it. You feel their fingerprint left behind, not on your skin, but in the rhythm of your becoming. And still, you ask yourself, why them? Why that moment? Why did your paths cross only for them to disappear into the fog of time? Zen does not rush to answer. Zen invites you to sit with the mystery, to let it be a garden, not a riddle. You do not need to understand it all. You only need to be with it. So be with it now. Feel the breath rise and fall. Hear your own heartbeat, a quiet reminder that you are here still, and that whatever crossed your path did not diminish you. It shaped you. The presence of another person in your life is never meaningless. It is never random. Whether they stirred joy or pain or both, at once they activated something asleep within you. That is the point. That is the gift. Even if they were unkind, even if they were gentle, even if they left too soon. Your soul recognized them for something ancient, something needed, like a bell that sounds only when struck. Your being was meant to resonate in their presence, even if only briefly. That resonance, the echo they left behind, is yours to explore, yours to breathe into, yours to grow from. Have you noticed how certain people seem to speak a language you forgot you knew? A glance, a tone, a single phrase, and suddenly you remember a part of yourself you hadn't touched in years. Perhaps they awakened the child in you, or the artist, or the rebel, or the part of you that dares to hope again. Whatever it was, that awakening matters, even if they didn't stay long enough to see who you'd become. They did not need to. Their role was never to walk the whole path with you. Their role was to light a lantern, hand it to you, and step away. The rest is yours. And in that handoff, a sacred exchange occurred. You may have given them something too, a smile that softened their anger, a question that stirred their truth, a presence that comforted their pain. We often forget that we are also someone's teacher, someone's healer, someone's brief but meaningful detour. So tonight, I ask you to honor not just the people who entered your life, but the version of yourself that met them. Who were you then? What did you need? What were you willing to give? What were you afraid to lose? That version of you was not wrong or broken. They were searching, growing, shedding. And those people who entered at that moment, whether kind or cruel, met you at a point of transformation. Can you thank them for that? Can you thank yourself? In Buddhism, there's an understanding that every encounter carries the potential for enlightenment. Not the grand kind that cracks open the heavens, but the quiet kind that softens your grip, that lets you cry without shame, that teaches you to leave the door open even after someone has gone. Enlightenment does not always arrive through stillness. Sometimes it walks in through chaos. Sometimes it wears the face of heartbreak, but it always invites you deeper, into yourself, into awareness, into surrender. And so as you lie here now, with the hum of night around you, remember, you are not defined by who came and went. You are defined by what you allowed yourself to feel, by the courage it took to open your heart again, and again, and again. That is your strength. That is your wisdom. Some people were never meant to stay, not because you weren't enough, but because the journey you're on is uniquely yours. And their chapter in it, however short, was precisely what it needed to be. If you carry pain from their absence, don't push it away. Hold it gently. Let it sit beside you. Offer it tea. It too is part of the path, but do not let it define you. Let it refine you. Let it teach you where you still close, where you still guard, where you still believe you are unworthy of lasting love. And then breathe into those places with kindness, with patience, with no rush to heal. Healing is not a destination. It is a way of walking, of choosing again and again to show up for yourself, to believe that presence matters even if it isn't permanent, to trust that every soul who brushed against yours left you closer to truth, closer to wholeness, closer to the soft, steady rhythm of your own becoming. Tonight, let yourself feel it. Not the loss, not the ache, but the truth underneath it. The gratitude, the grace, the unfolding. You are not who you were. You are softer now, stronger, more aware, more open. And that too is because of them. So let your breath be a whisper of thanks, not a grasping, not a pleading, just thanks for the lesson, for the moment, for the glimpse of yourself that they helped you see. Tomorrow may bring new faces, new teachers, new mirrors, and you will meet them not from lack, but from fullness, because you have learned, you have seen, you have become, and no one can take that from you. Not time, not distance, not absence. The gift has already been given, and it is yours to keep, yours to pass on, yours to sleep beside tonight, like a flame that does not flicker but warms. Let it warm you now. Let it settle into your chest, your belly, your bones. You are safe. You are growing. You are becoming, just as you were meant to. You may not remember the first time it happened, that first encounter that stirred something deep within you. The first glance, the first word, the first feeling of recognition without explanation. Like two leaves carried by separate winds, suddenly brushing midair before falling away again. There was no reason for it then, only a strange warmth, a quiet pull, a soft confusion of meaning and mystery. And yet, it shaped you. It left an imprint in places that have no name. As you rest tonight, I invite you to return to those silent spaces of your life where people came and went without ceremony, but changed the entire temperature of your soul. Not every connection was loud. Not every meeting came with fireworks or grand lessons. Some were subtle, like mist clinging to morning branches. Some were painful, like a shadow stretching too long across a tender place. But all were sacred. Zen teaches us that the path is not marked by milestones or achievements. It is marked by awareness. And when a person enters your life, no matter how briefly, they awaken that awareness. They remind you to feel again, to question again, to soften again. Think of the one who challenged your patience, who made you bristle, resist, struggle against the current. They were not your enemy. They were your invitation. An invitation to explore the tension between control and surrender, to practice stillness in the face of discomfort, to notice how much effort you give to avoiding what is. Or remember the one who showed you love only to take it away. In their embrace, you found safety. In their absence, you found your truth. You discovered that love is not about possession, but about presence. And you learned that your own company, though once feared, is a sanctuary too. Some entered as questions, others as answers. Some walked beside you long enough to mirror your joys, your wounds, your hope. Others passed quickly like a song caught in the wind, gone before you could remember the melody, but still echoing. And each of them, no matter the role they played, were part of the same lesson that you are not alone on this path. That life is not something to be figured out, but something to be lived through. With all its unexpected meetings, with all its quiet goodbyes. There were moments when you begged for someone to stay, when their leaving felt like a tearing. But in time, the tear became an opening. Through it, more light entered. Through it, you saw who you were, beneath the clinging, beneath the fear, beneath the belief that you are only whole when held by someone else. Now, as you lie beneath this sky, beneath these covers, with only your breath to hold you, begin to understand no one was ever lost. They were returned to their path, and you remained on yours. And that too was perfect. Zen does not ask you to forget them. It asks you to honor them by living fully, by letting their presence, however brief, become a thread in the fabric of your becoming. You are not here to collect people like treasures. You are here to be touched, to be changed, to be reminded of what it means to feel deeply. You are here to love. And sometimes love is not about staying. It is about recognizing, even in parting, that something beautiful happened, that something real was shared. There is no shame in carrying someone in your heart long after they've gone. What matters is how you carry them. Not as a burden, not as a wound, but as a whisper, as a blessing, as a part of your sacred unfolding. And now I ask you, who do you still hold? whose memory visits you in the quiet hours, whose words echo when your mind is still. Don't push them away. Don't chase them either. Simply allow them to be here. Let them sit beside your breath. Let them be part of the silence. You do not need to understand why they came or why they left. It is enough to know they did. In Buddhist thought, every being you meet is your teacher, even the ones who hurt you, especially the ones who hurt you. They teach you boundaries. They teach you resilience. They teach you where you still seek validation, where you still fear rejection. And in time, they teach you forgiveness, not just of them, but of yourself. You forgive the version of you that needed them. You forgive the part of you that thought you were not enough. And slowly, gently, you return. Not to who you were before, but to something wiser, something kinder, something freer. And still people will come. They will knock on the door of your life with their stories, their needs, their love. And again, you will open. Again, you will risk. Again, you will feel. Because that is the way. That is the Dharma. To keep meeting life with an open heart, even knowing that it might break again. To trust that every encounter is holy, that every person is a reflection, that even pain has something to offer. So sleep, Namin, knowing that you are not broken for missing someone. You are not weak for remembering. You are not foolish for still caring. You are human. And in your humanity lies the seed of awakening. Let that be enough tonight. Let your breath carry you back to center. Let your body soften into the bed. Let your mind rest in the knowing that no one enters your life without a reason, and no one truly leaves. They live in the way you've grown, in the way you've softened, in the way you've begun to see the sacred in every step, even in the ones taken alone, especially those. And maybe, just maybe, the next person you meet will be someone who sees you as you are now, not who you were when others met you, but who you've become. And you will meet them, not with need, but with presence, not with fear, but with quiet joy. For now, let that future remain unwritten. Let this moment be enough. The stillness, the softness, the breath. You are here, and that is everything. There are moments when life surprises you, not with joy or sorrow, but with a sudden silence, a gap between heartbeats where something feels different. You sense that someone new has appeared in your world, and although you cannot yet name their purpose, you feel the pull, the resonance, the subtle knowing that this is not chance. And perhaps later, they become a memory, a face you glimpse in a dream, a name you hesitate to say aloud. But before all that, they were a presence alive and real and here. In the teachings of Zen, such encounters are not distractions. They are callings. You are not alone in wondering why they came, why you, why now, and what it means when they leave if they do. But Zen does not concern itself with explanations. It teaches you instead to see, to listen, to witness each being who enters your life as a messenger, not from some faraway heaven, but from within the flow of karma, of causes and conditions you may never fully understand. They arrive because the time is ripe. Because your soul, like a field long tilled, is ready for a seed. Maybe they water your dreams. Maybe they uproot your illusions. Maybe they bloom briefly and vanish. But always they leave behind change. You are different now, even if only slightly, even if you don't yet see it, even if you wish you weren't. And that change, subtle or seismic, is your path unfolding. You don't need to know where it leads. You only need to be present with each step. So, take a step now into the memory of someone who once lit your world. Maybe they said something simple, something small, but it lodged in your heart like a pebble in a stream redirecting the current. Maybe they sat with you in your sadness without trying to fix it, and that presence, more than words, healed something unspoken. Or maybe they hurt you. Maybe they triggered something so deep that your foundations cracked. And from that crack, light poured in. What matters is not who they were, but what they awakened. What part of you stood taller, or fell apart, or softened because of them? The story isn't about them. It's about you. You are the constant. The sky, they are the weather passing through, shaping the seasons of your inner world. And the beauty of Zen is that it allows you to stop resisting the weather. It invites you to open your arms to it, to welcome the storm, the sun, the wind, the stillness, to know that all of it belongs, because all of it is your teacher. In the old Buddhist texts, there are tales of travelers who meet strangers on the road. A thief, a sage, a child, and each meeting is a turning point. The stranger says one thing, just one line, and the traveler sees their whole life differently. Not because the stranger was divine, but because the traveler was ready. You too are ready. You were ready when they came, and you are ready now, even in their absence. You may think, but I was not wise. I was not grounded. I was too open, too naive. But in Zen, even your unpreparedness was perfect. You met them exactly as you were meant to raw, real becoming. And from that meeting, something sacred stirred. The mistake is in thinking you were supposed to hold on, to keep them, to preserve what was meant to pass. But Zen teaches impermanence. It teaches the beauty of the sand mandala, meticulously created, then swept away. Not to destroy, but to free. Not to forget, but to let go. And so tonight I invite you to let go not of the memory, but of the grasping. Let go of the need to define what it meant. Let go of the longing to return. Let it rest. Let it be part of you, like breath, like moonlight, like the tide. You do not lose what is truly integrated. You do not forget what is truly felt. You carry it in the way you pause before reacting, in the way you now listen more deeply, in the way you forgive more gently. That is the legacy of connection. Not possession, but transformation. And if they were a mirror, what did they reflect? Your fears, your gifts, your longing, your light. Did they help you see yourself more clearly, even if only for a moment? Then be grateful. Be grateful for the pain too, if it came. Pain is the fire that tempers the blade. It shows you what still needs healing, what still clings, what still believes it is unlovable. But you are not unlovable. You are human, tender, evolving. You are the lotus blooming in muddy water, not despite the mud, but because of it. And those who came and went, were part of that bloom, part of the mud, part of the water, part of the sun. You don't need to make sense of it. You only need to feel it. Let yourself feel it now. Feel the weight and warmth of their presence. Let the memories rise, not to trap you, but to teach you. Let them pass through like birds across the sky, real, beautiful, free. Do not cage them. Do not chase them. Simply witness. Simply breathe. There will be others. There will be new voices, new hands, new faces. And you will meet them, not as the person you were, but as the one you've become. Softer, wiser, more rooted in your own presence. That is the gift. That is the reason. No one enters your life by accident. No meeting is wasted. No ending is the end. Only a turning, a return, a release. So sleep now in that truth. Rest in the knowing that you are held by every encounter, every lesson, every love. You are not alone. You never were, and you never will be. Sometimes you meet someone and it feels like remembering, not discovering, as if they were already a part of your being long before your eyes ever found them. Their presence feels familiar, not because of shared history, but because of a deeper recognition, one that bypasses logic and speaks straight to your knowing nature. These encounters are rare, but when they happen, they leave an imprint on the soul that time cannot erase. Perhaps you cross paths for only a short while. Perhaps you walk together for years. But the impact remains not in the length of time, but in the depth of meaning. And though life may have moved you apart, the mark they left within you is still very much alive. Zen Buddhism tells us that these deep resonances are not coincidental. They are echoes of karmic threads, unseen causes rippling forward from distant origins. You may not remember the past life in which your spirits intertwined. You may not recall the vow that brought you back together, but your body remembers. Your breath remembers. The soft ache in your chest when you think of them, that is remembrance. And in that remembering, you are invited to awaken. Not to the illusion of clinging, but to the truth of connection. Because not all connections are meant to stay. Some are meant to ignite, to awaken, to remind you of the truth buried beneath years of forgetting. Sometimes the lesson is in the love. Other times it is in the letting go. And when the moment of parting comes, it is rarely clean. It leaves strands of longing, of wondering. You may lie awake and think, what if I had said more? What if I had waited? What if I hadn't let go? But Zen invites no war with the past. It invites you to see each choice not as mistake or victory, but as step, a movement, a part of your walk through this dream called life. When you let yourself fully feel what their presence stirred within you, hope, fear, joy, vulnerability, you honor the sacred contract between souls. You say, yes, I saw you. I received what you came to give, And even if I didn't understand it, then I understand it now. Or at least I trust that understanding is blooming in me with every breath. You may never get closure, not in the way the world defines it. No perfect conversation, no neatly tied ribbon around the chapter. But Zen does not ask for closure. It asks for acceptance, to accept the open-endedness, to trust that some stories are written in invisible ink, and that just because something isn't clear doesn't mean it isn't complete. Imagine them now, not as you last saw them, but as light, as part of the stream of awareness flowing through all things. You may not touch them again. You may not hear their voice, but their essence lives in the way you pause before speaking, in the way you offer kindness without condition, in the way you allow yourself to be seen. They have shaped your becoming, and that is more enduring than presence. Still, there may be days when their absence echoes louder than their memory, days when you feel their name sitting at the edge of your mouth. Say it. Whisper it to the night, not to summon, not to pine, but to release. Say it as a prayer, as a way of saying, thank you for passing through. There is no shame in missing. There is no weakness in longing. These are signs that you were touched deeply by another soul. And what a beautiful thing to feel that alive even in sorrow. Zen calls us back to the breath again and again, because the breath is the only constant. Everything else is rising and falling, coming and going, but the breath remains, just like the imprint they left, always moving, always returning, not as a ghost, but as a growth. You are not who you were before you met them. You are not who you were when you said goodbye. You are becoming. And their role, however brief, was part of that unfolding. Can you honor them without holding on? Can you carry the wisdom without carrying the weight? That is the art. That is the practice. When you stop needing them to return, you allow the present to give you something new, something fresh, a new teacher, a new mirror, or perhaps, finally, your own reflection, clear and unafraid. And perhaps that was the true reason they came to awaken you to your own light, to show you what was already within, what needed to be loved, what longed to be seen. So lie back now. Feel your breath rise and fall like gentle waves. Let their memory settle not as pain, but as presence. Not as loss, but as lesson. Not as story, but as stillness. You are here, and they were here, and that was enough. You don't need to recreate it. You don't need to understand it. Just rest in the knowing that something beautiful passed through you and left you better, softer, more open to the mystery of love that does not cling, does not control, does not demand. Love that simply arrives and then goes, and then lives on in the spaces between. You are learning to love like that, to live like that, and in doing so, you are free. There is a peculiar tenderness in the moments when you realize someone has changed you. Not in loud, obvious ways, but like a river reshaping the land quietly over time. They arrived, said little, perhaps stayed briefly, but something in their gaze, their silence or their sudden laughter carved a path in you. And now, whether or not they remain in your life, the shape of you is different. Zen teaches us that such transformation is not an accident. Every ripple has a source. every effect a cause. The one who crossed your path brought with them a lesson only they could offer. Not because they were perfect, not because you were ready, but because the moment was precise. You may ask, why did it hurt? Why did the lesson come wrapped in heartbreak? Or why did they leave just when I opened my heart? But the question Zen gently invites you toward is not why, but what. What did you learn about attachment? What did you discover about your capacity for compassion or for fear? What part of you long hidden began to stir in their presence? You see, awakening is not always a beam of light. Sometimes it is a quiet shattering. Sometimes it is confusion, tears, and the unbearable ache of wanting things to be different. But Zen does not flinch at your pain. It sits beside it, does not offer quick answers or fixes. It offers space. And within that space, you begin to hear something deeper, a voice that whispers, this too is part of your path. Think now of someone who once made you feel safe and then made you feel lost. Someone who loved you but could not stay. Or someone you wanted to love you but never did. These are sacred encounters, not because they fulfilled your desires, but because they revealed them. They showed you where you hope, where you fear, where you cling, and in doing so, they handed you a mirror that said, look here, this is you. What you choose to do with that mirror is the work of a lifetime. You may try to smash it, you may try to polish it endlessly, but eventually, if you are willing, you will simply look. And in that looking, you will see not just the pain they stirred, but the strength it awakened, the compassion it grew, the boundaries it clarified. Every person you meet on this journey of life is either a reminder or a revelation. A reminder of who you already are, or a revelation of who you could become. Sometimes both. And even if their behavior was flawed, even if their words were sharp, or their silence wounding, Zen asks you to look beyond the surface, not to excuse, but to understand. What karma brought them to you? What inner vow attracted you to them? Were they reflecting something you've avoided seeing? Or were they guiding you toward a part of yourself you had forgotten? And now, long after they've gone, their presence still lives in the questions they left behind. These questions are not burdens. They are openings. Doors into your deeper nature. Let yourself sit with them. Without needing quick closure. Without rushing to label the experience. Just sit. Just breathe. The river of memory may bring you images, moments, dreams. Let them pass through. Let them teach, not torment. Remember, you are not failing because you still think of them. You are not weak because your heart still stirs at the sound of their name. These are signs of your aliveness, of your openness to connection. And that openness is not a flaw. It is your doorway to wisdom. Zen does not seek to harden the heart. It seeks to soften the resistance around it, to let the heart break if it must, but then to watch how it mends, stronger, wider, more spacious. You are not meant to be untouched by life. You are meant to be changed, transformed. You are the clay and the fire, the vessel and the water. And those who pass through your life are not separate from your shaping. They are part of it. So tonight, I invite you to reflect, not on what they took from you, but on what they gave, even if what they gave was a wound that forced you to heal. Even if what they gave was absence. And in that absence, you learned to stand alone. That strength, that solitude, that silence is sacred. You earned it, you grew into it, and now it is yours to carry not as armor, but as wisdom. There may still be sadness. That is okay. Let it come. Let it wash through you like a summer storm. Let it cleanse the places where your expectations once lived. You do not need to be cheerful. You only need to be present, to feel fully, to let yourself be real. The truth is, you may never fully understand why they entered your life. But perhaps understanding is not the point. Perhaps the point is surrender to the mystery, to the unfolding, to the way every encounter reshapes the soul whether or not you were ready. And now you are more ready than ever, not because you have figured it all out, but because you have learned how to sit with not knowing, to rest in the unformed, to breathe in the in-between. That is Zen. That is growth. So breathe now. Let your body soften. Let the past settle like snow at the bottom of a quiet lake. You are here. You are whole. And everything that came before has brought you to this moment. This breath. This deepening awareness. No one crosses your path without a reason. No encounter is wasted, and you, beloved soul, are becoming exactly who you were meant to be. There is a moment in every spiritual path when you realize the people who have walked beside you were never really outside of you. They were echoes of your inner world, reflections of your longings, fears, and forgotten parts of self. You met them not by accident, but by resonance. You drew them in, called them close, because something in you needed their presence for the next unfolding. Some came as soft hands guiding you gently toward yourself. Others came as storms shaking loose the things you clung to so tightly you forgot they weren't truly yours. And some came as silence, as absence, as unanswered questions that still ring in the chambers of your chest. But all of them were part of your awakening. Zen does not ask you to judge these encounters as good or bad. Zen invites you to see them as necessary. Like seasons that pass through the landscape of your life, each one brings change. Each one carries something essential, even if it arrives wrapped in sorrow. Think now of someone who once made you question your worth, who pushed against the edges of your peace, who stirred your insecurities and forced your shadows to surface. You may have blamed them. You may have fought to be seen by them. Or perhaps you shrank trying to become small enough to fit into the shape of their approval. But now in this stillness, you see something more. You see that they did not create your wounds. They revealed them. You see that your worth was never theirs to give or take. It was only waiting for you to claim it. And in their rejection, you were pushed back toward yourself. Slowly, painfully, but unmistakably. That is grace in disguise. That is the fire of transformation. Not all healing feels like peace at first. Sometimes it feels like breaking, like unraveling. But Zen reminds us that what is unraveling is not the truth of who you are, it is the illusion. The mask, the story you inherited or built out of fear. When someone comes into your life and disrupts the illusion, it can feel like betrayal. But it can also be liberation. Can you allow the hurt to serve your freedom? Can you bless the one who triggered your awakening even if they never meant to. That is not weakness. That is mastery. And mastery is not perfection. It is presence. It is the willingness to feel without flinching, to see without denying, to grieve without collapsing. Every person who touched your soul, whether through kindness or cruelty, was an invitation. Some invited you to open. Others invited you to protect. All invited you to know yourself more deeply. And now you are different. Not hardened, but clarified. Not closed, but conscious. The child in you who longed to be chosen has grown wiser. The part of you that needed permission to be loved has discovered it can love itself. And that is no small thing. That is a return to center. That is the path home. So tonight, as you lie in the quiet, I invite you to bring into your heart the faces of those who once caused you pain. Not to punish yourself, not to relive the wound, but to release the grip. To say with deep breath and soft voice, "Thank you for being my mirror. I release you now." Say it again and again, until the name no longer stings, until their image no longer binds, until you feel the spaciousness inside your chest grow wider, lighter. This is not forgetting. This is not denial. This is freedom. To carry the memory without carrying the weight. To hold the lesson without holding the wound. And in that freedom, you make space for new encounters, for new reflections, for new parts of you to meet the world. You are not meant to walk through life untouched. You are meant to be moved, to be shaped, and yes, to be scarred. But even scars in Zen are sacred. They are maps of where love once lived, where truth broke through, where you stood in the fire and emerged changed. Can you see your scars that way? Can you honor the ones who left them? Not because they were right, but because they were part of the story. This is not about excusing harm. It is about ending the cycle of inner war, about reclaiming your peace from the hands of those who never knew how to hold it. You are the keeper of your calm now. You are the guardian of your light. And though others may still misunderstand, you still still fail to see the depth of your becoming that is not your burden to fix. It is your path to walk with compassion, with clarity, with courage. Zen walks beside you, whispering not that you are alone, but that you are whole, even in your grief, even in your doubt, even as you gather the pieces of your past and learn to arrange them, not as ruins, but as mosaic. Beauty made from brokenness, meaning made from the mess. There is no shame in having loved, in having lost, in having hoped where there was no return. These are signs of life, of bravery, of soul. And now, as you breathe in this stillness, let yourself rest in that knowing. You loved, you learned, you lived, and you are still here. Softer, yes, but stronger, wiser, ready. Ready to meet the next soul who crosses your path. Ready not with expectation, but with presence. Ready not to cling, but to connect. To share your truth without apology. To hold space without fear. To see them not as savior, not as source, but as reflection, as fellow traveler, as mystery, And should they leave, you will not shatter. You will not close. You will bless and breathe and begin again, because now you know. No one crosses your path without a reason, and every reason holds within it the seed of awakening. There is something sacred in the realization that not every person who arrives in your life is meant to stay. Some are here only for a season, a single page in your story, a breath that shifts the entire rhythm of your being. And when they leave, perhaps suddenly, perhaps slowly, they take with them the familiar patterns you once clung to, the roles you assigned, the meanings you constructed. In that leaving, something within you is forced to confront emptiness, and it is in that emptiness that true awareness is born. Zen teaches that impermanence is not a flaw of life, it is its essence. Every bond, every glance, every word spoken between souls exists on the edge of change. To resist this truth is to suffer. To embrace it is to awaken. When someone exits your life, especially if it feels unresolved, your mind may begin spinning stories, seeking reasons, replaying moments, hoping to rewrite the ending. But Zen invites you to pause, to sit in the space they left behind without rushing to fill it, to feel what arises there. Grief, yes, but also insight. Not all closure comes from conversations. Sometimes closure is found in stillness, in the quiet realization that the lesson has already been lived, that no more needs to be said, that the gift has already been given, even if it arrived disguised as loss. Think of someone whose departure still lingers in you, someone whose presence shaped you in ways even they might not know. You may wonder if they ever think of you, if they regret what happened, if they felt the same depth you did. But these questions, while natural, are not necessary for peace. Peace comes not from their answers, but from your release. When you stop holding your breath for their return, when you stop needing validation for what you felt, when you say to yourself with honesty and compassion, it mattered, and it's okay that it's over. This is not letting go in bitterness. This is letting go in gratitude. Gratitude not for the pain, but for what the pain revealed, how it cracked open your defenses, how it made you more tender, more awake, more alive. Zen does not deny heartbreak. It holds it gently, like a teacher holds a trembling student, saying softly, "This too is the path." You do not need to rush to joy. You do not need to fake indifference. What you need is presence, to honor the ache, to learn what it has to show you. And in time, the sharpness fades, the story softens, the edges blur, and what remains is a quiet appreciation for what was Sarkaturos, for who you became, for how life continues to unfold. Remember that every soul who meets you changes you. Every encounter is an exchange of energy, of karma, of mirrors reflecting back your deepest truths. Some show you what you want. Others show you what you fear. A few will show you who you truly are beneath all the stories. These are rare, and often their presence is brief. Like shooting stars, they illuminate something in you before disappearing into the night. And yet, their light lingers, not because they completed you, but because they revealed you. Perhaps you met someone who saw into your core in a way no one else had. Their gaze cut through your masks, Their presence disarmed your defenses. You felt safe, known, seen. But even such souls may not stay. Zen reminds you, nothing is permanent, not even love in its most profound form. And that does not diminish its value. On the contrary, it heightens it. To know that something beautiful is also fleeting makes you cherish it more deeply, makes you breathe it in fully while it's here, makes you say yes to it without needing guarantees. And when it passes, as all things do you bow not in defeat, but in reverence, in deep, humble respect for what was shared, for what will never be again, and for what it awakened in you that can never be taken away. You carry that awakening now. It lives in your breath, in the way you touch others, in the way you forgive. More easily, feel more deeply, trust yourself more fully. That is the gift, not the person, the growth. And that growth is yours forever. Let yourself mourn the loss. Let yourself cry if you need to. But do not let the pain convince you that the connection was a mistake. Some souls are not meant to walk the whole path with you. They are meant to appear at a crossroads, to speak one sentence that stays with you forever, to make one decision that forces you to choose differently, to love you just enough that you remember what love feels like and long for more. And sometimes their absence is what pushes you to find that love within. The love that stays. The love that watches you through every change. The love that is not dependent on any other. Your true self. Your knowing nature. That part of you that cannot be abandoned because it is always here. Always waiting. Always whispering. Come back. Come home. You are not lost because someone left. You are not broken because a chapter ended. You are unfolding. And every ending, no matter how painful, is part of that unfolding. Trust it. Trust the timing even if it feels unfair. Trust the silence even if it's deafening. Trust your path even if you cannot see the next step. You do not walk alone. The footprints of every soul who touched yours are with you. Not as burdens, not as regrets, but as threads in the fabric of your becoming. And one day you will see clearly how each encounter prepared you for what was next, for who you were always meant to be. You will breathe deeply, smile softly, and whisper, "Now I understand." But until that day comes, let yourself rest in the not knowing, in the in-between, in the gentle unfolding of healing. Let each breath remind you you are alive, you are growing, and you are held not by others, not even by outcomes, but by the vast presence of awareness itself. Zen is not about fixing what's broken. It's about seeing that nothing was ever truly broken. Only changing, only shifting, only becoming. And in that shift, you are invited to soften, to surrender, to trust. Trust the love that left. Trust the love that remains. Trust the love that is becoming. There is a soft truth hidden within the departures of life. A truth that whispers to you when the room is quiet, when your hands are no longer grasping, when the ache of loss has dulled into something almost tender. The truth is, some people were never meant to stay, but to awaken something in you so deep, so vital, that their leaving was the very thing that made you alive again. You may not have seen it at the time, You may have cried, clung, begged for a different outcome. You may have asked the sky why this love was given to you, only to be taken away. But Zen teaches that the why is not always given in words. Sometimes it is given in silence, in breath, in the feeling of your own heart breaking open to hold more than it ever could before. Because that's what loss does, it expands you. It makes room for deeper truth, for softer strength, for love that is not possession, but presence. And in the space where someone once stood, something unexpected begins to bloom you. You begin to realize that you were never truly missing anything. That what you thought only they could bring was actually a reflection of what was dormant inside you. They were the spark. You were always the fire. Zen Buddhism tells us that clinging is the root of suffering, not because attachment is wrong, but because all things are in flux. The tighter you grip, the more you bleed when it moves. And everything moves. Everyone moves. The illusion is permanence. The truth is flow. A river cannot hold its water. It can only carry it. And you too are a river. The people who come into your life are drops in your current. Some stay near the surface, some sink deep. Some swirl around and confuse you, and some cleanse you entirely. But they are all water, and you are the river. You do not lose them. You carry them forward, transformed. Can you feel that now? Can you feel how those who hurt you left behind more than pain? They left mirrors. They left fragments of lessons that now piece together into clarity. Maybe they came to teach you boundaries. Maybe they arrived to challenge your definition of love. Maybe they were simply there so you could practice choosing yourself. And in choosing yourself, you came home. Home to your breath. Home to your body. Home to the truth that you are whole even when others walk away. You do not need closure to be complete. You do not need apologies to heal. You do not need anyone to stay longer than they are meant to. What you need is to see each encounter as a ripple in the great ocean of your awakening. And then to let the ripple move through you, not to drown you, but to carry you to deeper stillness. Think of the person who once made you feel invincible in their presence. The way they looked at you, spoke to you, made you believe in the magic of connection. And then think of the silence that followed, the distance, the change, the way they slipped through your fingers like mist. It hurt, didn't it? It made you question your worth, made you wonder if you had imagined it all. But Zen says, stop asking who was right or wrong. Start asking, what am I learning? Who am I becoming? You are becoming someone who knows how to stay present with longing, who can sit beside uncertainty and not flinch, who can grieve without collapsing, who can love again, not recklessly, but wisely, openly, bravely. You do not close your heart to prevent pain. You open it wider, so pain becomes part of the path, not a barrier to it. You breathe through it. You let it move. You let it teach. And then you return to the now. This breath, this moment, this stillness. Because here, in the present, no one is leaving. Nothing is missing. You are whole. You are held. You are awake. Zen reminds us that the deepest peace comes not from getting what we want, but from releasing our grip on what we fear losing. What if you could look back at every departure and say, "Thank you for leaving me with myself"? What if you could bless the ones who walked away, not because they were kind, but because they helped you grow? That is not denial. That is alchemy, turning pain into wisdom, memory into medicine, absence into spaciousness. There is power in that. Not the power of control, but of clarity. You begin to choose differently. You begin to see red flags not as challenges, but as direction. You begin to soften without collapsing, to hope without attachment, to love without losing yourself. And slowly, something shifts. You stop trying to make people stay. You start trusting that those who are meant for your soul's journey will not need to be chased. They will stay because they resonate, because the energy is mutual, because the lesson is not yet complete. And when it is, you will know. Not through drama or betrayal, but through a quiet understanding. A soft goodbye, a deep bow, and then you walk on, not empty, not bitter, but open, grateful, ready. Because now you see no one crosses your path without a reason, and no one leaves without leaving something behind. A truth, a scar, a seed, a light. And in that light, you find your way forward, always with breath, always with grace, even when it hurts, even when it's quiet, even when you walk alone, especially then. Because walking alone is not loneliness. It is intimacy with yourself. It is communion with your essence. It is Zen. And Zen is not about answers. It is about being present with the question, the ache, the space, and knowing that even in the space where someone once stood there is still beauty. There is still breath. There is still you. You sit quietly in the aftermath of all those encounters, in the long echo of voices that once shaped your days. Some remain etched clearly, faces you can recall like paintings behind your eyelids. Others blur with time, like shadows passing through fog. But all of them, every soul who touched your life, did not appear at random. No crossing of paths is ever meaningless. You know this now, not because someone told you, but because you've lived it. You've watched how one conversation redirected your course, how a single smile made you soften, how one betrayal broke you open enough to discover your core. You didn't ask for all of it. You didn't understand it all as it unfolded. But here, in the quiet, you see it differently. From a deeper place. You see that even the hardest lessons carried seeds of awakening. That the timing, though painful, was never off. Zen teaches you to trust the invisible thread that connects each moment, each person, each turn in your story. Not with blind hope, but with grounded awareness. Because the universe, in its own rhythm, delivers to your life exactly who is needed for your soul's unfolding. Not who your ego wants, not who your fantasies cling to, but who will help you see what you have not yet seen, who will hold the mirror gently or ruthlessly to your unhealed places. And even those who come as storms, they too serve the sky. Think of that one person you still don't understand, the one who came in strong and left in silence, the one who stirred something ancient in you and then vanished. Their role might have been to teach you about letting go, about trusting that some stories are meant to remain unfinished in form, yet complete in their purpose. Your mind may still resist this. It wants answers, wants clarity, wants clean lines and clear motives. But Zen says not everything can be resolved intellectually. Some truths are only felt, known in the belly, known in the breath, known in the quiet nod of surrender. And perhaps that person who left without closure was a master in disguise, a teacher dressed as a friend, a lover, a stranger. Perhaps they offered exactly what was needed to break the loop you were trapped in, or to ignite a longing for truth that only solitude could answer. There are no accidents in the choreography of your becoming. Each meeting, no matter how brief, contains sacred potential. Even a moment of eye contact with a stranger on the street, even the person who held the elevator for you, even the child who laughed as you passed. These encounters, though fleeting, vibrate with connection, and some of them arrive wrapped in pain. But pain is not the opposite of healing. It is often its doorway. Through pain, you pay attention. You stop sleepwalking. You remember what matters. That's why Zen speaks of mindfulness not just as practice, but as posture, a way of standing in the world with your eyes open, your heart receptive, your hands unclenched. Can you recall the first time you met someone who felt like home? The sensation that they had always been there in some quiet corner of your being. That recognition is real. It is not imagination. It is soul memory. And sometimes, those we recognize most deeply are not here to stay forever, but to remind us who we are when we have forgotten, to call us back to ourselves with their gaze, their words, their silence. And then, when their role is complete, they go. And you left aching and awake begin again with more depth, more wisdom, more capacity to love than before. This is the cycle: arrival, meeting, resonance, departure, reflection, growth. It is not cruel, it is sacred, but only if you let it be. If you resist, if you demand permanence from what is impermanent, you suffer. You build cages around rivers. You clutch sand with closed fists. But if you breathe, if you soften, if you trust the flow, you see beauty in every wave. You feel gratitude even for the storms. And you begin to understand that the point was never to hold anyone forever, but to meet them fully while they were here. That's the lesson. That's the gift. Presence. Presence with what is, rather than grasping for what was. You will meet people who teach you kindness by being unkind, who teach you peace by being chaotic, who teach you clarity by confusing you. They are not enemies, they are mirrors. And the mirror shows not just their face, but your own reactions, your own longings, your own growth. Every encounter offers this reflection. And when someone crosses your path, no matter how briefly, they leave an imprint. Not on your timeline, but on your consciousness. You carry them not as burdens, but as strands in the tapestry of your awakening. There is no need to resent them, or idolize them, or erase them. Let them be what they were. Let them have their shape. Let them remain in memory without distortion. And when their image arises, as it often will in the stillness before sleep, smile gently. Whisper, "Thank you." Not because everything was good, but because everything was growth. And growth, even when painful, is grace. Perhaps now you understand why Zen speaks so often of emptiness. Not as void, but as space. Spaciousness. The room to receive what is coming. The openness to release what has gone. You don't lose people. You transition with them. You evolve through them. You shed skins they once fit, and when they no longer fit, you do not mourn the snake for molting. You honor the process, and you keep moving. Some nights you will miss them. You will wonder what could have been. You will reach for them in memory. That's okay. That's part of the flow. But then return. Return to this breath, this body, this moment. They are your home now. They are the altar on which your life continues to unfold. No one crosses your path without a reason, and no one exits it without leaving behind a doorway. Sometimes you don't know where that door leads until years later. But one day you walk through, and something in you recognizes the echo, the resonance, and you smile because you understand. Finally, fully, with no need for words, just the deep peace of having been shaped, awakened, softened. And in that peace, you begin again, open, aware, at home in yourself. You have come a long way. Through memories and stillness, through loss and gratitude, through arrivals that stirred your soul and departures that hollowed your chest. You have listened closely, and in that listening, something in you has begun to shift. Not loudly, not with fireworks or proclamations, but with the quiet surety of dawn warming the earth. You now see that nothing and no one entered your path by mistake. There was no chaos without cause, no presence without purpose. What once felt like coincidence now reveals itself as choreography, sacred, subtle, precise. It's not about figuring it all out. That's not the point. The mind will try. It will piece together timelines and motives. It will search for patterns and make maps. But the heart knows. The heart remembers what the mind forgets, that you are here not to control the unfolding, but to witness it, to be awake in it, to let it transform you. And now, in this final breath of our journey together, I invite you to lean into one final truth. You are not alone in this unfolding. Never have been. Even in your darkest nights, someone was with you. Maybe not physically, but energetically, spiritually. Someone's memory, someone's words, someone's eyes that once saw you and said you matter. And perhaps, just perhaps, someone who hurt you also helped you to grow into your own strength, to reclaim your power, to return to yourself. That is the paradox. That is the miracle. The hands that pushed you away were the winds that guided your boat closer to shore. And the people you longed to keep beside you, they may have been the very ones whose absence taught you presence, taught you the weight and warmth of your own breath. Every person in your story was a teacher. Some whispered, some shouted, Some stayed long. Some passed like storms. But all left you different than before. Wiser. Softer. More compassionate. More rooted. More real. You are not the same. And that is something to honor. To bow to. In Zen, we bow not only to the masters who teach through words, but to those who teach through experience, through reflection, through disruption. You bow to the friend who saw your light. You bow to the stranger who reminded you of kindness. You bow to the one who broke your heart so that it could open. And yes, you bow to yourself. To the self that is kept walking, breathing, learning, falling and rising and falling again. The self that has chosen again and again to stay present, to keep returning. You didn't skip the hard parts. You didn't numb yourself into forgetting. You listened. You stayed. That is the essence of spiritual courage. To be fully here. And now, what remains is not a conclusion, but a blessing. A spaciousness in which your own wisdom can echo. I invite you to close your eyes if they're not already closed. Feel the breath move in your body. Let it rise and fall. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel the silence around you. This is the temple. Not made of walls or incense or chants, but of presence, of stillness, of remembrance. You don't need to do anything more. You don't need to fix anything now. You don't need to chase anyone. Just be, just breathe, just rest. You are whole. Even with the pieces you once called broken, you are seen. Even in your moments of invisibility, you are loved. Even by those who never knew how to say it. Love is not always a declaration. Sometimes it's a gaze, a gesture, a presence. And sometimes love says goodbye, because it trusts that your path is unfolding as it should. No one crosses your path without a reason. No moment comes without meaning. You are carried by a deeper current. Even when you feel lost, you are being returned to yourself. Again and again and again. So rest now, dear soul. Rest in the knowing that you have done enough. That you are enough. That the journey is not over, but it is always in this moment whole. Inhale, slowly. Exhale, fully. Let it go. Let the past soften. Let the future wait. Let the present hold you like gentle water. You are safe. You are guided. You are on your path, and every path leads back home.